What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 6S Chapter 111 Sabo dies, the Straw Hats are left alone. Soon after, the violent shaking subsided. When Tail fell to the ground and was extremely weak, Luffy, who had been rescued by the dragon, suddenly punched him from the air. The fist directly penetrated Tyr's body, turning his weak body into rubber, causing Tyr's already weak body to suffer severe damage instantly. Tyr was punched into the ground and almost lost consciousness. D. Luffy, who had recovered the god of Nika, the smile on his face had long since disappeared. The smile disappeared, and the rhythm of the liberation drum also slowed down, making Luffy instantly aware of the source of his strength. Even though he was angry, the smile returned to his face. Kill him. Thunder rain. Tyr said weakly. The thunderstorm was controlled by Tyr, and it cut through the air very quickly in front of Luffy, and pierced the dragon's chest with a knife. Tyr would never let go of such an opportunity again. Killing Luffy's last relative in front of his eyes caused Luffy's brain to almost fall into endless pain. Can't stop. In order to kill him, Tyr also consumed his domineering and sword energy power that made him almost collapse. Tail supported his body, stood up, took off the stimulant potion and analgesic potion from his waist and drank it into his mouth. He looked up at Luffy in the sky. Who is your Patronus left next? The effects of the stimulant and analgesic drugs quickly spread throughout the body. Damn it. Sabo yelled, causing severe pain in his internal organs. He puts all the blame on himself. If he hadn't been so reckless, Long wouldn't have led so many troops to die. Come back. At the southern dock, countless sword blades pierced the Revolutionary Army soldiers and listened to Tyr's call. There are about 70,000 sword blades, all of which turned into sword energy and returned to Tyr's body. Yishao, please go inside and kill Ivankov. Tell open the sword array for him, leave it to me outside. Yes. Fujitora was also impressed by Tyr's strength just now, and agreed to him decisively, with a hint of respect in his tone. In comparison, Fujitora's consumption was only to hold the dragon back, while Tyr used all his strength to kill the dragon. Don't give him any chance to activate his abilities again. Part of the sword energy returned to the body, allowing Tyr to recover some of his physical strength. Now he can no longer use large-scale slashes. He can only fight with the most basic swordsmanship, plus the weapon color and the knowledge color. The blow just now had exhausted all his strength. The sky-wide sword blades that were shattered and swallowed up by the dragon's ability also disappeared. The immeasurable sword energy disappeared, and Tyr's physical injuries were no lighter than those of the Straw Hat Kid. Come on, let's see if I fall down first or you run out of strength first. Telephone took a deep breath with the knife and began to adjust his condition. Tyr understood it from the moment when Luffy's face turned pale and old and returned to Nika's appearance again. He has not fully controlled the power of awakening, and all the power is temporarily revealed by him. Advertisement, the Revolutionary Army, is gone. For their grandfather and grandson, our Revolutionary Army that has been carefully operating around the world for several years was destroyed. When the leader of the Revolutionary Army died, almost all of them lost their combat effectiveness. In the city, all citizens were protected from the tsunami. The sharp decline in Tyr's physical strength also made the sword formation somewhat turbulent. It seemed like it was about to collapse at any moment. There was no way to do this. The elephant owner's attack almost killed Tyr. However, the grudge with the dragon's sneak attack was also ended with the 10th style of Tyr's sword god. The storm was like countless dead revolutionary soldiers crying, washing away all the filth on the island. The rain eroded Tyr's body and washed away the blood on his body. The feeling of raindrops falling between the flesh and blood is like someone holding a needle and pulling it out and inserting it into the flesh one by one. It was always tormenting Tyr's nerves. Elephant Lord, Monkey D. Dragon is dead. The only one who is still resisting is Mori, the last giant of the Revolutionary Army. 20 units of pacifists, smokers, major generals and cannons all attack his huge body. Even Mori himself had never thought that the Revolutionary Army would experience such a desperate battle. He screamed and used the weapon in his hand to lift the ground as a shield, but his skin was still bombarded by countless cannonballs and lasers. Bullet holes were all over his body. Never let that giant go. The giants are all pirates, Tyr just finished shouting. Luffy's body, which changed at will, swung towards Tyr like a propeller. Extremely fast, I still have. Partners, Luffy's joyful laughter could not cover up the tears on his expression at this moment. Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook. Tyr, whose eyes turned red, had already launched an attack that predicted Luffy's attack. Tail moved quickly to avoid his fist, listening to Luffy's intense heartbeat. Just like the sound of a drum, it jumps faster and faster. As if the drum beats continuously, he will have unlimited physical strength to fight against Tyr. Dodging the attack, Tyr immediately attacked him. Mu Ku and Yang Shi left Shisha's side and rushed towards Nika Luffy as fast as lightning. After you die, I will kill them one by one, and then let you continue your ridiculous adventure in hell. Hearing Tyr threatening his partner, Luffy's body suddenly turned huge and flew into the clouds, holding a huge lightning bolt in one hand and throwing it towards Tyr. Can you still catch lightning? Tyr did not intend to resist, but continued to move to avoid Luffy's attack. The moment lightning fell on the coast, creating a huge explosion, Tyr summoned 100 sword blades to turn into shields in front of him to resist the impact. But I am really a pirate fan. Advertisement. I want to kill all your friends. Who told your grandfather to suddenly attack me from behind while I was fighting pirates? The fall of the dragon caused the hurricane and storm on the sea to lose control instantly and hit the island. In the sword formation, under Fujitori's gravity and sword skills, Revolutionary Army Ivankov, Lightning and others were almost powerless to resist. It seems you care about him very much. Tyr wiped the blood from his face and reached out to aim at Sabo in the center of the sword formation. He punched the air and punched the ground beside Tyr. He stood up and looked at Tyr with the same arrogance behind him. Then, the fingers suddenly closed together. With his body freely changing, he swelled up like a strongman and punched Tyr. Luffy's face was filled with grief as he ejected from the air and rushed towards tail. Boom. Tyr's arrogance is blue. Luffy's is pure white. Its purpose is to maintain this power in the body. Damn B******************************************** D. Ha 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 ha. Luffy tried to stay happy and didn't dare to stop laughing. A few words for my brothers, I write this fanfic in a realistic style. Sob. Luffy felt that Sabo's body was about to reach its end due to his excessive injuries. Once the drum of liberation weakens, it means that he will be killed by Tyr. On the southern battlefield of the island, the giant commander of the Revolutionary Army, who was surrounded by numerous marines, was exhausted after killing several pacifists and was completely killed by the soldiers. West of the island, Taylor moved quickly to avoid his attack. Take away Luffy's perspective and see what the pirate world looks like. He was soon seriously injured by Fujitora and arrested with a sea stone. P.S. The Monkey Clan. Tail walked towards Luffy with a knife. After today, they will cease to exist. At a slow speed visible to the naked eye, Sabo was torn apart and twisted by the sword energy that Tyr instilled in his body, and was killed directly in front of Luffy from the inside. You can carefully analyze the monkey family. They're indeed a group of unpardonable sinners. Can't be sad. Damn it, ha 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 ha. He suppressed his anger and allowed himself to laugh as much as he wanted. How deformed is a person who cultivated the power of pirates to be called a hero for saving the celestial dragons? Ah. The death of the two sworn brothers, plus the death of his father and grandfather, made Luffy completely lose everything. I'm going to kill you, you devil. How dare you kill all my family members? Who can still protect you? No, do not want. For example, what does Garp look like? Chapter 112 Sword Energy Affecting the World. The Conversation of the Five Elders. Boom. On the island outside the New World Sword God Island, a swift slash slashed open the island and rushed straight to the next point in front of the sea. What is that? Captain, what's wrong with you? The pirates were exploring the streets of the island town. Suddenly he saw his captain being pierced through the body by Tyr's 10th style sword god slash. The thick blood and fat began to separate from the center of the body, and the island suddenly vibrated and split on both sides. What is that? Why is there such a terrifying attack rushing towards our island? Quick. Run. The island has been cut open. Just when they thought the island was cut open, they looked at the sea that the attack passed through and realized what a natural disaster was. The ocean crashing towards the island broke and bifurcated. The sea has been cut open. I'm dreaming, right? What happened? That horrifying scene stimulates the citizens of New World all the time. All the islands passed by the 10th form were divided into two. It wasn't until the aftermath of the final verdict hit the Red Earth continent that it dissipated. The last trace of the aftermath caused a violent earthquake in the holy land of Marijoya. The telephone bugs in Pangu City have been ringing non-stop. It's all intelligence snooping on the war between the Revolutionary Army and Sword God Island. What's going on with this vibration? One of the five elders asked loudly. There hasn't been any earthquake in the Red Earth continent for 800 years. What's going on? Five elders. Five elders. Important report. The soldier who rushed to the Pangu City Hall in Pangu City to report the news to the five elders fell down and got up again in the violent shock and said, Monkey D. Dragon was killed by Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General Tyr at the G8 base. What? The five people were shocked and speechless at the same time. They thought that Tyr did not have such strength. Many islands in the New World were split in half by the aftermath of a shocking strike. The soldier's face was full of horror, and he could no longer express his expression in words. It's all caused by the aftermath of Lieutenant General Tyr's move. Can humans themselves do such a thing? The Marine soldier who reported it then submitted all the photos from Sword God Island to several five elders for review. This inspection made them break out in cold sweat. This is Sun God Nika. Advertisement at a glance. It can be recognized that in the photo, all the clothes have turned to white, and the hair also has wavy and rubbery white hair. What's going on? Could it be that fruit has awakened? For 800 years, it has never awakened. Now is not the time to worry about this, said the scientific defense god of war. Hurry up and ensure the safety of the Tianlong people. If this earthquake is really caused by that kid's move, then our view of him will definitely change dramatically. Perhaps, we should implement the report submitted before the warring states period. The financial martial god followed the words of the scientific defense martial god. Strength is always the supreme existence in this world. If terror can show such world-shaking strength, then they must pay more attention to things that do not have any stain on the Tianlong people. In fact, Tyr's impoliteness to the celestial dragons on the Sabodi Islands 6 months ago had been wiped out by Shalulia Palace. You mean? The environmental martial god was shocked when he heard what the financial martial god said. We should consider promoting him to a general. That's right, but he is still just an 18-year-old kid. Several people had a fierce dispute over such a proposal. Child? If he is really a child, will he be a huge threat to us to eliminate Monkey D. Dragon? If this earthquake was really caused by his moves, there is no doubt that he has completely exceeded his qualifications as a general. There are now multiple factions within Marine, and some people have betrayed Marine. We really need to replenish our combat effectiveness. But let's wait until the duel between Sakaski and Kuzan is over. This violent shock that shocked New World caused countless people to fall into panic. Zanshu also accidentally killed many innocent people, which was an uncontrollable factor. When Tyr found the opportunity to kill the dragon, he would have been defeated if he had hesitated. Because the dragon's comprehensive strength is definitely higher than the current Tyr, and it can also make the tsunami reach hundreds of meters and become a terrifying hurricane. It was also his decision to go all out to get rid of the dragon. It now appears that Teal's decision was correct. The leader and deputy leader are both dead. The revolutionary army was completely defeated within a few hours. Since 2 incidents of guards assassinating Tianlong people, the Tianlong people have never dared to use any ordinary people to protect them. They are all members of the CP-1 intelligence agency, and they are protected tightly. The war started by Tyr alone did not rely on any support from the Marines. Advertisement. The soldiers in Marine fandom were very busy. How's the battle report? Revolutionary Army Dragon is dead. Ivankov was arrested, and the giant commander Mori of the Revolutionary Army was besieged and killed. In the command room, Warring State's face turned green as he listened to this series of news. He couldn't believe that Turtle could do this. Do you need to record these battle reports, Fleet Admiral? The soldier asked Sengoku. Although he voluntarily resigned from the position of Fleet Admiral, he still has the power of Fleet Admiral as long as Akainu and Aokiji do not decide the outcome. Of course, this is a war that can be recorded in history. In the busy Marine command room, Sengoku lowered his head and sighed silently, feeling that he had really built an era in these years. Keep powerful pirates in balance with each other, and create Shichibukai to deter pirates who would only invade the island and cause disaster to the world. Forcing Marine, Shichibukai, and 4 emperors to form an unshakable balance in the New World. This kind of policy gave birth to the Revolutionary Army forces, and everything was created by him. Although they clearly have the most powerful generation in Marine history, they do not clean up the sea, and they think of a terrible balancing policy. Report. The communications soldier saluted the Warring States period. The Kingdom of Goa has been invaded by a large number of pirates. We Marine can't just sit back and watch, right? They are no longer a franchising country. Warring States hesitated, but wherever thieves commit crimes, there must be our teachers of justice. I understand. Go ahead and stop the reinforcements. The government will naturally not care about a franchise that has been removed from the list, but Marine is different. Marine has the power to challenge the world government. Am I really too weak? Sigh. The videophone is connected. Look, Coast. The soldier looked at Tyr's blood-soaked appearance, and his happy expression instantly turned solemn. He hesitated to speak. Lieutenant General, has he been so seriously injured? Tyr. There is no Lieutenant General's flying sword in the sky. What's going on? Hurry up and zoom in. Although he is only 2 meters tall in this world, the silhouette of tail on the screen at this moment gives Marine his sense of awe and justice. The ligated latissimus dorsi muscle looked like it could shake the world while staring at another enemy naked. Flying over Tyr is none other than Luffy with the awakening fruit. The battle between 2 phantom beasts awakening their abilities. This is a battle that has been rare for thousands of years. Chapter 113. The Final Battle, the Surrounded Straw Hat Boy. Is there a limit to devil fruit development? In other words, is there an upper limit to Tyr's devil fruit? The form of the phantom beast sword god inspired by the consumption of his lifespan makes his compatibility with the devil fruit even closer. Murderous aura produces domineering power, and domineering power arises from the power of the heart. Any aura on one's body will turn into one's own power. Don't come near Tyr, Dusky. Smoker stopped countless soldiers and gladiators who wanted to go to Tyr's battlefield. The devil fruit seemed to be swallowing up Tail's emotions, causing him to burst out with a trembling murderous aura as he walked toward Luffy. You are just a child, Straw Hat Boy. You have never experienced the baptism of blood. You can only do whatever you want with your brain. So what? It doesn't matter if I die for my dream, but you killed my family. Tail walked directly below Luffy and watched with his eyes as Luffy fell from the air to the ground, turning the ground into elastic rubber. A phantom beast that can affect the surrounding environment. The pirates you and the Revolutionary Army released from Impel Down City were not killed by me. Taylor said slowly, do you know how many people have been killed in New World in the past 6 months? Who wants to know that kind of thing? Luffy quickly circled and swung his arms towards Tail. Then your family really deserves to die, paper painting. The fist hit Tyr and passed directly across his edge. Shave. The moment he escaped, Tyr disappeared instantly. Missed. Disappeared. Luffy glanced around and realized that seeing and hearing Haki was just the most basic awakening. Even if his ability is awakened, the strength of his Haki is still very weak, but Luffy can combine the 2 types of Haki. The Nika form also seems to greatly increase the suitability for using Haki, allowing people like Luffy who have just awakened Haki to control it freely. Just as Luffy was looking around for Tail, Tyr appeared from behind him with a knife in both hands, and struck his body with a knife. Rubber muscle fist. The rubber body transformed freely, and Luffy suddenly changed from a slender body to an extremely muscular man. He concentrated his strength on his fist and swung it at Tyr. Luffy reacted immediately after sensing it, and his fist with added domineering energy collided with Tyr's black sword. It's all dripping with blood, how long can you hold on? If the drums don't stop, I will never be defeated. Luffy used his strength to repel Tail and compared it with others. Regardless of physical strength or domineering power, Tyr has no advantage at this moment. Tyr was knocked into the air, and a bolt of lightning struck him from the clouds. However, Tyr used 6 moves to avoid it. Lightning seemed to have obeyed Luffy's call, which really shocked Tyr. Advertisement 3 swords quickly attacked Luffy, but he dodged them all using his strange method and ability to affect things. Falling to the ground, Tyr immediately pointed a knife at Luffy. Sword energy impact. The light of the sword energy shines out of the tip of the sword, sending Luffy in the air directly into the clouds. Wow! Luffy's playful laughter continued to echo in Ty's ears. And the sound of his heart gradually slowing down also appeared in Tyr's brain. That heartbeat is your limit. Boom! As soon as he finished shouting, Tyr felt a huge pain in his body that made him smash his knees to the ground. He was so uncomfortable that he clutched his heart. In order to achieve the power of a fatal blow, Tyr was accustomed to fighting. The method of letting conquerors entangle a lot and quickly resolve the battle has never changed. It seems that we must pay attention to the use of domineering. Tyr, who has been fighting alone, has long been accustomed to this situation. There was thunder and lightning in the clouds above the island. Luffy poked his head out, and the huge fist he had accumulated in the dark clouds was surrounded by many red lightnings. Is this called 3rd gear? At this moment, he has no concept of 4th gear, so he is thinking of a name for such a huge fist. Forget it, I just need to kill you to avenge them. Although the fighting method is funny and ridiculous, the power is terrifying. He grows in battle all the time. This is not possible. Fujitora saw Luffy's moves, and then looked at Tyr's appearance and immediately raised the staff sword above his head. He sensed the aura on Tyr's body and understood that he needed support now. The amazing power that Tyr displayed in order to destroy the dragon made him so weak now. Seeing Fujitora take action, Tyr raised a smile. You are not the only one who has a helper in desperate times, the last remnant of the monkey family. No, the battle must end quickly. Luffy, who is sure to take action, will never hold back on Tail again. Because, he found that his heartbeat was weakening. Before Genshin, who was mixed with thunder, had time to swing his fist towards Tyr, a vast meteorite broke through the clouds and landed behind him. Soldiers from all regions arrived, and with the help of Tell and Fujitora's abilities, the Revolutionary Army was almost completely wiped out and routed. Marine Sword God, I don't deny that you are very powerful, but if you continue to consume your domineering energy like this, you may die. My own purgatory fire turned out to be useless? Boom. Advertisement. The flames of purgatory. The silver light of the full moon illuminated the island in the early morning, and everyone could clearly see the battle taking place on the western coast. Tyr frowned as he watched Luffy stand up. Of course. The fire of purgatory burned Luffy's body, causing him to fall from the air to the shore and scream in the sky. The meteorite summoned by Fujitora was struck with his fist, creating a huge shock wave in the blooming cloud. Consuming half of the sword energy in his body as the starting condition for the move, Tail felt the huge impact of the air on his face, and slashed at Luffy with a knife in both hands. You care about your partners, right? Tail quickly waved the black knife and collided with Luffy's fists. I can hear it. Tail quickly approached Luffy, not giving him any room to breathe. Your weak heartbeat is failing. Do unknown monsters in the world also have such terrifying power? What a terrifying power you have, Straw Hat. I suddenly want you to see them die in front of you one by one, so that you can experience deep despair before killing them. Ah. Luffy looked back at that moment, his eyes were scared out of his head again. Meteorite. Actually, this is not the case. Luffy is indeed immune to fire damage, but he is absolutely not immune to the scarlet scar on his back caused by Tyr's knife. It hurts, it hurts. Luffy quickly stared at his legs, acting very unbelievable. Ha 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 ha, I lied to you. Fujitora also came to the coast from the city, always ready to arrest the Straw Hats. Lieutenant General. Those who survived were also tied up with ropes. The sword energy burst into blue flames, and rushed out of Ty's black sword blade to slash behind Luffy. It hurts. Luffy screamed and stared at Tail, who was rushing towards him. D. Luffy had just smashed the meteorite with one punch, and the moment he looked back, he felt the huge pain of his back being cut. Meteorite. The two engage in a final close fight. Without any hesitation, Luffy turned his sky-shaking punch towards the meteorite and punched it, otherwise he would have been seriously injured by the meteorite and smashed into the ground. Boom. Facing Fujitora's advice, Tyr smiled lightly and said, I am no longer afraid of death. Smoker led 10 pacifists from the victorious battlefield in the south to the west blue shore. Tyr shook the black knife in his hand when he saw this. Have you forgotten who else is behind you? D thing. Haki wrapped his fists, and Luffy also planned to fight Ty in close combat. Chapter 114. Nika is defeated and Luffy is arrested. Under the starlight in the night sky, every time Tail and Luffy waved their arms, their own blood would scatter into the air. The competition between the domineering fists and the Tyrian black knife in Nika form is in full swing. The fierce confrontation between the two was dazzling. The collision between the sharp point and the fleshy palm caused the red and black thunder to roar like thunder on the west blue shore, impacting everything around it. It must be very expensive to maintain this sword array. Fujitora came to West Blue Bank and watched the battle between the two. Untie it, Marine Sword God, I can't hurt civilians in the aftermath. Tal, who was swinging his sword rapidly, heard Fujitora's words and immediately dispelled the sword formation. The sword energy was like seawater floating in the air, flowing into Tyr's body, restoring some of his physical strength and sword energy. Damn it, Luffy complained, pumping his fist quickly, tricky way to fight. While blocking Tyr's frontal slash, he also had to constantly avoid attacks from Tyr's other 3 swords. Haha, there's more. After receiving the reply from the sword energy, Tyr's eyes immediately glowed with the light of the sword energy. Control 1,000 sword blades surrounding the island, and attack Luffy towards his location at the same time. The swordsmanship like a storm continued to slash, making it more and more difficult for Luffy, who was gradually losing his strength. While Tail was wielding his sword, he had to keep dodging Luffy's strange-shaped fists. If he wasn't careful, he would get punched by him. Lieutenant General. Shisha looked at Tyr's injuries, and all the soldiers gave him a military salute with a solemn look. Except for people like Smoker and Fujitora who can get close to the center of the battle, even the pacifists who are close to the fierce battle between Tails and Luffy. The steel parts on their bodies were constantly affected by the impact, causing parts inside their bodies to fly around. The smooth swordsmanship is like a majestic poem. Let the reporters on the island quickly use their writing skills to tell the story of this extremely rare fierce battle between those who have awakened the ability of the Phantom Beast species. Ah, Major General Smoker. Dasky wanted to get closer, but his body was unable to withstand the impact of the battle. Don't come here, Dusky. She was blocked by Smoker, otherwise she would have suffered internal injuries from the aftermath of the battle. If she had been weaker, she would have been shocked to death. After that guy blocked the dead Elephant Master's attack, his body was already badly damaged. He was consuming his lifespan to forcefully activate the fruit to fight. The rhythm of sword sounds echoed all around, and Tyr began to take advantage of it. Let 500 swords attack Luffy non-stop, while the other swords form a fighting circle around the two of them. Baichuan Jianming cannot be used. Tyr's domineering energy is not enough, and his sword energy is not enough either. Advertisement. Dark Sword Cry. A solid sword blade was entangled with Tyr's sword energy, spinning on the outside of the sword circle and constantly striking the blades. Bang. Each strike will cause a sword to shatter, and in turn, a sword sound will be produced that can affect Luffy and attack his body. What is this ripple? Luffy felt a faint cramping pain in his body when he felt the ripples of the sword's sound penetrate his body. Drink. Fujitora used his staff sword to wave a swordwind at the entrance of West Blue Coast City, intercepting Tyr's sword cry in the air. Let me solve the hidden dangers for you, otherwise it would not be good for citizens to be accidentally injured. He no longer intervened in the decisive battle between Tyr and Nika Luffy, but instead acted as a high wall to protect the citizens. Luffy's strength in Nika form gradually became smaller, and Tail's physical strength was gradually exhausted. Every crack of the sword blade will cause ripples of sword sound to cause harm to Luffy, but he cannot free his hands to resist alone. The fist, which is like a machine gun, must shatter the swords that attack him in large numbers in the air. Screaming is normal. This is the last symphony I will listen to. Tyr said while waving the blade, and suddenly a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. It's still early for me to reach my limit. Holding back the pain caused by the injury, Tyr continued to activate his ability to swing the sword. The arrogance of the awakened fruit ability behind him had disappeared, but he found that he could still fight against Luffy's heartbeat, which was getting smaller and smaller. Every second of this final showdown is filled with Tyr's determination to make the monkey family disappear, and every moment he is challenging the limits of life and death. The only thing Ty could trust was the black sword in his hand. Even the newly awakened Straw Hat Luffy had no upper hand. Because when his drums die out, that's when he loses. Fierce slashes and a crazy confrontation with the ever-changing and incredible ability to freely change rubber. The fist hit Tyr's abdomen, and the blade struck Luffy's chest. No matter what, the outcome seemed to be determined. Such fierce fighting continued until almost dawn. Tyr's eyes turned very pale, but he still did not defeat Nika Luffy. B***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************8 heart stopped beating, and his appearance returned to his normal appearance from Nika, sitting on the ground. With a crumpled look about to die, he looked at Tyr, who was still standing opposite but had no strength to swing his sword. Advertisement, kill. Kill. Him. Tyr, who was extremely weak, raised his hand to Luffy again. Currently, he only has the ability to control one sword. Another sword makes him feel heavier than a mountain. The speed of Cuckoo as a flying sword also accompanied Ty's exhaustion, and it became extremely slow to pierce Luffy's body. Luffy, whose abdomen was penetrated, fell completely to the ground. Why do you do this to me and my family? Grandpa is a Marine. When you see your friends die in front of you one by one, you can ask Garp yourself. Both of them seemed to be fighting with their lives, but it was Luffy who fell first, and Tail used all the knowledge he had learned over the years to consume him to death. Fortunately, he did not fully control the power of Nika's awakening, otherwise Tyr would have been defeated. The winner is out. The base commander wins. Give me. Medical kit. Shisha tore off the medical kit worn by the medic with one hand, and quickly ran towards Tyr, who was strolling towards the seaside. He no longer had the strength to raise his hand. The biggest vortex of the extremely evil generation, and the background behind him will also disappear at this moment. Fujitora was about to swing his final sword at Luffy. Tyr suddenly said to him, "Stop, this is not enough. I want him to die in pain and despair." Thinking that this Luffy was the last member of the monkey family, Tyr had to torture him to death. "You've made yourself look like this again, you big fool." The sheltered people on the island were all so shocked that they turned pale and looked at Tyr kneeling on the beach. If tens of thousands of civilians in the northern region were not protected, Tyr would not be in such a mess. Then, let's arrest him and imprison him first. After Fujitora finished speaking, he ordered the soldiers to take out the sea tower stone shackles and arrest the Straw Hat Boy. The light of dawn rose above the ground, and Tyr, who was shirtless and covered in scars, suddenly opened his arms and felt the warmth. Destiny begins to change at this moment. It no longer revolves around you, but around me. Although his body was covered with bruises, Tyr's eyes were still firm. Chapter 115. The Kingdom of Goa was destroyed. Shisha used alcohol to disinfect and apply ointment on Tyr. Judging from the smile on Tyr's face, he could no longer feel any pain. Tyr faced the rising sun over the sea. Everything I have done in the past 6 months seems to have been released at this moment. Perhaps because of his injury, Taylor found that he could not laugh. He knew that even the death of the monkey family could not bring peace to the sea. But the feeling of successfully achieving revenge on them made Tyr smile from the bottom of his heart. What makes Straw Hat look like this? Like an old person who is about to die, are you overdrawn? Stop kneeling on the beach, Lieutenant General Tyr, you must receive treatment. Shisha persuaded Tyr, but found Tyr who was looking at Dawn saying. Investigate the whereabouts of the Straw Hats, don't let him die so easily. You need to rest, Lieutenant General, remember, they are all somewhere in the Grand Line. They sent warships to the Grand Line to search for the White Earth Island. Stop talking about business. I want him to see whose side destiny is on. After a short rest, Tyr stood up and walked towards Monkey D. Long's body. His body was already covered with a layer of white bandage by Shisha. I want to show him who is the right one. Pulling out the pea container from his waist, Tyr inserted it into the already dead dragon. A hurricane-shaped energy was sucked into the container from his body. This is the true form of the devil fruit. Tyr looked at the terrifying power within the container that could cause a world tsunami. This scene was hidden by his body. I want to make him suffer. I want to torture his will. I want to kill his partners one by one in front of him. As he talked, he staggered down the city streets. Lieutenant General, are you okay? Shisha followed closely behind Tell with a medical bag. Of course, how could something happen to me? This is just a pediatric department. I just need to rest for a few days. Tyr suddenly fell to the ground in a city full of civilians on Sword God Island, Main Street. There was no movement on the spot. Advertisement, idiot, don't show off in front of me. Without the protection of the base commander, all of us might have been swallowed up by the tsunami. Pay tribute. Even though he could no longer stand up, he was still worshipped by the people on the island. The reporters who made the news had begun to sort out all the information in front of them and report to the world that a revolutionary army had been wiped out in one day. At the same time, it also needs to convey Tyr's cruelty to the enemy. Even hundreds of thousands of troops are as vulnerable as broken bricks in the face of his brute power. Except for the civilians in the northern part of Sword God Island, no one knew that the reason why Tyr was seriously injured was to save them. Quickly organize manpower, restore order on the island in 2 days, and lift the trade blockade in nearby waters. Victory is something worth celebrating, but no matter what, people's livelihood needs to return to normal for the island to function. This war allowed the people on the island to see the true strength of Tyr, and the incident of cutting off the sea in the New World was also announced. 2 days later, the Great Route inside Nine Snake Island. Prison Street, outside a prison where Bella Betty was imprisoned. The Empress put one hand on her hip and the other hand held a newspaper that shocked the world. She looked at the woman in prison with a cold face and said, "The Revolutionary Army no longer exists. Although I don't know what that guy left you to do, I have no choice but to do it." Straw Hat Luffy was also arrested, which the Empress did not expect. The frail woman's eyes were round and ferocious, and her hands, which were handcuffed with sea stones, immediately put their hands on the iron railing. Are you kidding? How could a dragon be defeated by a kid? Read it yourself. Hancock threw the newspaper to Bella Betty. Die in battle. Mori. Crow. This is fake news created by Marine. Bella Betty had short purple hair, and the clothes she wore could barely cover her figure. Scars were all over her body as she read the news in the newspaper in disbelief. Crap. Rubbish. There is no doubt that this is definitely fake news created by the government to exaggerate Marine. Ding. Listening to Bella Betty's insults, Hancock kicked the railing. Who are you scolding? Ah. Bella Betty turned to glare at Hancock. Of course I'm scolding the Marine who is called the Sword God. Aren't Marines all scum? Advertisement, how dare you? Call me a man. Hancock was also angered by her words. Come here, I'll torture you. Ha ha ha, Empress Nine Snakes, are you conquered by that man? Bella Betty began to taunt Hancock. Have you forgotten the way he killed your citizens? After returning to Nine Snakes Island for almost a month, Hancock once again regained her dignity as an emperor. When she thought of what Tyr had done to her sisters and the people, she suddenly shook her head, not daring to think about anything that went against Tyr. If the Revolutionary Army wins this conflict, there is no doubt that she can continue to be a superior Shichibukai. But now, all she could think about was Tyr. Even if Tyr had promised her, she could no longer remain a widow in this country full of women. Sheji. Niuba came to her side with a cane. Niuba, what should I do? Sheji, maybe if you stay with that brat, you can save Nine Snakes Island from war. They did not dare to mention the people who had been killed by Tyr before, and they had to consider the future of Nine Snake Island. New lady, are you telling the truth? Hancock's face turned rosy. I am also. Shiji, the end of this war means that there will be a new conflict soon. Croriosa looked at the blushing Hancock and knew that she could no longer leave Tyr. Even if Tyr killed her people, killed her sisters. It feels a little heaven-defying and explosive, but it is what it is. That's right. After listening to Noob's words attentively, Hancock returned to normal and looked at the sky with deep eyes. There is never peace in this world, only infinite war. It seems so. The kingdom of Goa seems to have been invaded by pirates and turned into ruins. It was revealed that the kingdom of Goa was expelled from the participating countries, and all countries and pirates from around the world collectively launched a war against them. People and armies from the other 3 sea areas, including the Grand Line, all participated in this fierce war. By the time Marine got the news and sent troops, it was already too late. Waiting for the 2 huge warships to arrive at the kingdom of Goa, it has become a hell on earth. In such a world, it is so easy to destroy a country. The participating countries can even be removed from the world government. The demise of the Revolutionary Army caused the remnants of the Revolutionary Army hidden all over the world to disband and return to their respective families. Chapter 116 Side Effects of Devil Fruit Abilities. The country is gone. Staley knelt in the burning palace fortress, looking down at his country below with a look of despair. Flames destroyed the palace. The building beams hanging above his head were about to fall towards him and hit him. Why did the disappeared Sabo become a disaster that destroyed the kingdom of Goa? He looked up at the flame-covered beams and opened his hands. Maybe this is my final destiny. Click. The beams and pillars broke and fell towards Stali, and along with the destruction of the kingdom of Goa, they were submerged on this mountainous island. Marineland, Marine Headquarters, in the building conference room. The matter with Tyr is over, Kuzan. Sakaski and Kuzan sat opposite each other, and the cold and hot air created two hostile environments in the conference room. I never expected that he could defeat the Revolutionary Army, but it won't affect our affairs. Sengoku sat in the center of the big round table, crossing his hands and watching the conversation between the two. A large part of the blame for what happened in the kingdom of Goa must be attributed to Tyr. What did you say? Akainu was surprised by Sengoku's words. The Revolutionary Army has been destroyed. What responsibility does Ty have for him? If he hadn't started the war without authorization, the Goa kingdom would not have been removed from the world government. So many civilian casualties have aroused public outrage in some countries, and all the blame is on me. The kingdom of Goa was destroyed by the war. In the eyes of the warring states period, it was indeed caused by Tyr's insistence. If this war had not occurred, a country would not have been destroyed by pirates and countries that did not join the world government. An impersonal guy must have a cold heart after all. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Kuzan began to tease. Akainu stood up in anger, his fists turned into lava due to his emotional fluctuations. What on earth is going on with you? Is everything like this inside now? Kazaru looked indifferent and stood aside with his legs crossed. Really, the stakes are very clear, right? If the Revolutionary Army is destroyed, how can Tyr be blamed for what happened in the kingdom of Goa? Is it you? Akainu glared at Sengoku. This dilettante who is about to retire has moved sympathy for the kingdom of Goa. Watch your words, Akainu. I haven't abdicated yet. Sengoku remained calm. We are soldiers. We are not the big and small countries scattered around the world. Although the war he started is beneficial to our army, it cannot cause the civilians of the world or a certain country to fall into disaster and be destroyed. The country was destroyed and countless civilians fled. Advertisement: most of the millions of people in the kingdom of Goa are now fleeing overseas in search of life. All public opinions and complaints are blamed on the government and marine. Then Shanks was stationed in the windmill village of Goa Kingdom more than 10 years ago. Why didn't you send troops to arrest him? I heard that it is the hometown of Lieutenant General Garp. This meeting is about your duel with Kuzan. Please don't talk about useless topics. That's right. Sakaski calmed down and sat down. We should indeed carry out the duel immediately. The island has been selected, and it is in Punk Hasad. After the war, no matter which meeting it was, Sakaski believed that the warring states always wanted to restrict Tyr's actions. After Tell left the Marine headquarters and built the G8 base, he never heard a single order from Sengoku. This made Sengoku feel that his authority had been challenged, and his majesty as Fleet Admiral was gone. No one can deny that his decision-making after becoming Fleet Admiral indeed reduced many lives from being plundered by pirates, but it only made the pirates more arrogant. It will only make the pirates think Marine is incompetent. Well, Punk Hasad has long been abandoned as a government scientific experiment base, so let's start the battle for Fleet Admiral there. The warring states period's extreme behavior toward Tell resulted in all the responsibility for the harm to civilians around the world being placed on him. Now in Marine, Tyr's behavior has become an example for most people to follow, which makes Sengoku unable to do anything against him. Such a devastating blow should be carried out against pirates, evil, and hostile forces. If everything in the military is restricted, pirates and evil will become more and more rampant, and the situation will become increasingly uncontrollable. In the G8 base internal hospital, there is a separate room for the treatment of officers. Lying on the hospital bed, Tyr's eyelids twitched. When he regained consciousness, he suddenly opened his eyes, which were colder than before. Tyr, who wanted to laugh, found that his mood swings were beyond his control. What's going on? Force yourself to calm down. This surprised him very much. You only deserve to eat. Tell pointed to the rat in the cage, the rat next to you. Chief of the base, are your injuries healed? Tyr followed the soldiers all the way to the G8 base dungeon. It's hard to believe that Luffy could say such a thing when he was in such a situation. As he spoke, Tell looked at the soldier. He stood up and took off the nutrition delivery needle from his hand. Tyr's body had recovered and he walked straight out the door. Advertisement: it's okay, I happen to know some places. Adventure? Yes, you still have adventure. Why? Taylor looked at him coldly. Take me to where Straw Hat is being held, take me there quickly. Yes, let me out quickly. Why? Luffy also responded directly to Tyr. Of course, I'm going to find my partner and continue the adventure. Meet. Luffy slumped inside, looking very old and pale. The steel needle was sucked into his finger through the air. You seem to have forgotten the reality that you were defeated and imprisoned. Well, hey, the eldest son of the monkey clan. Tyr grinned and teased him. You want to eat meat, right? The monkey family was almost completely wiped out by Tyr, and now only his partners are left. Now that his body had recovered, Tyr reached out and sucked on the steel needle on the torture table behind him. The little thief cat Nami, Chopper, and Frankie haven't been found, but everyone else's locations have been found. Bring me some food, I'm so hungry. Damn it, let me go quickly. Have you found it? The place where the Straw Hats were teleported by Bartholomew Bear? It is absolutely impossible for him to be released and run away like Garp. Really? Luffy cheered up after hearing the news. Then he aimed 2 fingers at Luffy's shoulders and shot out suddenly. But why do you need to use the name of a pirate to take risks? The steel needle pierced into Luffy's shoulder bones, causing him to scream. When Tyr woke up, the first thing he did was to go to the dungeon to check on the Straw Hat Kid. He looked like an old man who was going to die at any time, and he didn't look like a teenager at all. Yes, come with me. Walking through the dark dungeon corridor, Taylor followed the soldiers until they arrived outside a cell. Pain. It hurts, but there will be more pain next. Chapter 117 The Unreasonable Straw Hat Boy. Hearing the sound of Luffy being tortured, the arrested Ivankov suddenly spoke in the next cell. Our revolutionary army has already failed. There is no need to torture anymore. He was about to speak quickly when a sword penetrated his head directly. On the spot, Ivankov, a human monster, was nailed to the wall of the cage by the sword energy, and the blood slowly flowed across the wall from the center of his eyebrows into the ground. I don't know why, but my heart has become calmer. Tell withdrew his sword energy and walked towards Ivankov's cage. Take out the pea container and absorb the hormone fruit on him. Little Eva. You're so cruel. Luffy's eyes widened and he angrily scolded Tyr for his cold-blooded killing. Mr. Base Commander, if you want to execute them, it would be better to do it publicly, the prison guard said to Tell. It doesn't matter, it's the same to me. Taylor felt his emotions. Calm and scary. He knew that this was a side effect of the devil fruit, which would affect his mood and personality, but it would not affect Tyr's soul. I see. Feeling the murderous aura in Tell, the soldiers entered the cell and cleaned out Ivankov's body. The food is here. Middle. The people from the cooking class came here with a large amount of food, and were a little stunned when they found the blood stain not far from Tyr's side. What's wrong? The Lieutenant General executed a Revolutionary Army commander, Admiral Ivankov. Meat. Luffy approached the iron fence in search of the smell and watched Tail eat with big mouthfuls. Do you have any other orders, Lieutenant General? Prepare the ship and head to the Kamabaka Kingdom. There should be a member of the Straw Hats there. As commanded. The soldier immediately did so. Tyr enjoys a sumptuous meal in front of Luffy, which is also a kind of torture for a foodie. Now, who else is your patron saint behind you? Tyr ate barbecue and various fruits and vegetables, oh, and Shanks. Immediately, Tyr reached out and sucked Luffy's straw hat into his hand. My hat. B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* A white sword burst out of Tyr's hand and pinned Luffy's other arm to the wall. Ah, my arm. This hat. Tell freed up his hands and gently pulled at the brim of the hat. No, I want to return the straw hat to Shanks with my own hands. Realizing that Luffy still didn't understand his situation, Tail immediately disabled his arms. Tyr, who launched a flying sword, continued to eat the food in front of him. Jing Jing said to Luffy. The nature of scum cannot be changed. Do you want to know how many casualties the pirates you let go caused in the world? That's none of my business. They followed Terraman before. Terraman? Advertisement. Hearing this name, Tyr suddenly remembered that Luffy teleported to the battlefield on the top of the battlefield, which only those with surgical fruit abilities could do. It's none of your business, haha. The corners of Tyr's mouth rose, really feeling that he was a little unreasonable. It's like a person who understands the law is talking to a lawless and innocent pirate. However, a pirate like this still cares so much about bonding and friendship that he doesn't hesitate to cause trouble in all three major institutions in the world. It also caused two places to be completely destroyed, although one of them was done by Tyr himself. Luffy was extremely desperate and stared at the torn straw hat in Tyr's hand. Why should you blame me? That's their own business. If you don't let them go, why will they cause massacres? Everyone can change. Forget it. Tyr listened to Luffy's words and didn't plan to say anything else to him. Talking to someone like you makes me want to chop off your head all the time. After destroying all the large amounts of food in front of him, the ships outside that wanted to set sail were just getting ready. The soldier ran to Tyr and said, "The warship is ready, Lieutenant General." Tyr reached out and aimed at Luffy and sucked hard, smashing the iron bars together and allowing him to stand up with Tyr's bare hands. Ahem. What are you going to do? B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** himself again, Ty threw him in the air with his left hand and punched him into the ground with his right hand. Luffy was punched in 7 holes and bleeding on the spot. You're just a pirate, shut up. I'll cut off your meat piece by piece and stew it for your friends to eat. Lieutenant General, isn't this too cruel? Can we use the word cruel when dealing with pirates? The soldier realized that he had said something wrong and immediately bowed and apologized. Luffy, who was knocked unconscious by Ty's punch, had a frighteningly dented punch mark on his face. Help me. Someone help me. Tears of fear flowed from Luffy's eyes. In front of people like Tail, all Luffy's tricks are useless. Regardless of the charm he unleashes on outsiders, which can assimilate aloof people into a funny character, it has no effect on Tyr. A small burst of sword energy rushed out of Tyr's palm and brought the straw hat torn in half into the air. This kind of thing is a token of wool inheritance? The sword energy directly broke the straw hat into pieces and disappeared from his eyes. Woo! Ace! Sob! Grandpa! Dad! Everyone! Luffy cried in fear. Thinking back on the first half of his adventure, which was relatively smooth, how could he end up like this in the Saboti Islands? Ah, don't worry, you will be reunited soon. Let me go, let go. Me. You monster. Luffy's struggling voice became smaller and smaller, and finally he fainted. After walking out of the dungeon, Tell took him to military shipyard number 20. Chisha stood by the dock, as if waiting for Tyr to go to sea. Waiting for Tyr to come closer, she slapped him gently on the face. Woman, are you playing with fire? Tyr looked at her with some surprise. Have you grown wings? Advertisement. No, this woman needs to be repaired. Today she dared to slap Tyr on the face, and tomorrow she would dare to slap his nose on his face. Idiot. Are you healed? Where are you going? The kingdom of Kamabaka. The land of transvestites. What are you doing there? Once I start, I will stick to it to the end. Tyr pushed Chisha away and climbed onto the steps of the warship. I will never give up halfway. The same goes for anything he does, and Taylor will never give up halfway. He doesn't care about the care and slapping of his own people. Even if he uses Lee Taylor a little more, he won't say anything to Chisha. Wait. Take me with you. Leave the base to that strong uncle. He said he wants to try his hand at being in charge of the army. Fujitora. Taylor turned his back to Sissa and thought to himself, it seems that he really wants to join Marine. Why don't you board the ship quickly? Taylor looked back at her coldly with a smile. Wait for me. Chisha laughed playfully and quickly followed Tyr's footsteps, setting sail with him to carry out what Tyr wanted to do. She knew that Tyr wanted to attack the Straw Hats and wanted to go with them. Wait, Warring States Fleet Admiral ordered, Lieutenant General. A soldier in the base received the order and ran towards Tell. Tyr suddenly frowned seriously. Give me the phone bug. The soldier threw the phone bug to Tell, and he looked at the connected phone in front of him. Teal, I want to tell you about the Kingdom of Goa in person and the 5 elders. As soon as Sengoku's words came out, Tyr took the phone bug, raised his hand above his head and threw it towards the sea. Stop giving me weird orders. What happened in the Kingdom of Goa is the fault of the 5 elders, not mine. Boom. The force was so great that it produced a sonic boom, causing the phone bug to stop instantly. The soldiers on the warship, including Chisha, were frightened. Sail at full speed and arrive at Kamabaka Kingdom in 3 days. Lieutenant General. Disobeying military orders will lead to court. Does he dare? Tyr said calmly and disapprovingly. His patience with Sengoku had almost completely broken out. Because Tyr always felt as if Warring States was taking advantage of him and didn't want to listen to his orders. Marine Headquarters, Fleet Admiral Offices. There are also 5 elders who are considering you as Marine General. Galulu, Warring States listened to the phone bug with his mouth filled with water, and the veins on his forehead naturally appeared. Damn it. What's going on with that brat? I never dared to do this before. Chapter 118. Combined use of power. In order to let Tyr know about this, Warring States used a printer to convey the news. He knew that Tyr had been resenting him. He had had 2 quarrels before, and even refused the gifts Tyr brought to visit him. In the office, there were several lieutenant generals who were close friends with Tell. BWGB. More or less, we all know some of Taylor's experiences growing up. Teal's character is different from others. He came out of the war, Fleet Admiral. Soldiers consoled the Warring States. Maybe, I was too mean to him. Warring States wanted to test Tyr's psychological limit. A person who has experienced too many wars and missions will become completely cold-blooded. However, every time Tyr returned, he acted like nothing happened, which made him wonder whether Tyr was just like others. A few years ago, Lieutenant General also reported problems to Teal, but he was busy and ignored them. How can a normal person bear to live in blood and corpses for 4 consecutive years? Fleet Admiral, you should pay more attention to the genius's psychological activities. When he followed me on the mission, his cold-blooded side was already very serious. Huo Shaoshan took a puff of his cigar and talked about the Warring States period's lack of concern for Tyr. But every time he comes back, he always has a smile on his face and nothing is wrong. I don't want to offend you, Sengoku Fleet Admiral, Doberman said from his seat, but that kid has really seen too much. What's too much to see? As a Fleet Admiral, Sengoku almost didn't know what was going on in Tyr's mission. All that was received was intelligence that Tell was becoming more and more efficient in carrying out his mission. Innocent people died, mutilated corpses, babies surviving in blood. You should have tried to understand his life. But it's true as you wished. Tyr has gone from an immature and crying child to a soldier who is colder than steel to pirates. The lives he has in his hands now, it's not an exaggeration to call him an executioner. Huo Shaoshan continued, however, most of the people he killed were pirates. Marine needed to intimidate New World's powerful combat power, and Sengoku certainly got it. At the same time, he also lost Taylor's trust in him. Smiling does not mean happy celebration. You are stupid, Fleet Admiral. Tisk. Talking to the lieutenant generals like friends made Sengguo feel troubled at the moment. When you go out with me, you are a completely expressionless idiot. He can only recall that a year ago, he took Taylor out to sea to carry out the mission of flower-picking thief. Capture a pirate with a bounty of 400 million. Advertisement. Guion. Haha, but a man's heart is opened by a woman, and I just found a breakthrough point in this. So, you take him to soak in women. Who doesn't love a cute and capable little boy? Besides, I dress up to seduce those notoriously lecherous pirates. Okay. Don't talk about other things. The duel between Kuzan and Sakaski is about to begin. Please do more for the time being to maintain the security of the sea. As soon as the warship left the dock, Dasky rushed to the coast holding his weapons. Tyr. Take me with you. She waved her arms and shouted to Tyr in the distance. The sound reached Tyr's sensitive ears, and Tyr came to the stern of the ship and summoned a flying sword. Like fishing, he penetrated her top and hooked her onto the deck of the warship. Thump. The flying sword disappeared, and Dasky was put into the deck by Tyr. You. As soon as Dasky pointed his hand at Tell, the shirt that was cut open by the sword suddenly exploded and fell to the stern floor. She has a good figure, but her milk volume is much smaller than that of Chisha. Don't look. Ha ha ha. Idiot. What are you doing here? Tyr looked at her breasts that were extremely inconsistent with her figure and asked him with a smile. Dasky covered her chest, feeling very ashamed. You are going to arrest the Straw Hats, right? I happen to have a grudge against one of them, and I must take revenge. Dasky, who has a very upright personality, is not as gentle and attractive as Chisha. Even with this appearance, Tyr didn't have any bad intentions towards her. Sissa, Tyr yelled. Chisha rushed over from the deck of the warship and saw Dasky's naked upper body at the stern of the ship. He immediately covered her body with his hands. What are you doing, Lieutenant General? You have to do this kind of thing quietly. Take her to change clothes, Chisha. Tyr turned around and prepared to leave. Also, I didn't mean it. Dusky's identity has always been a mystery in Marine. Tyr thought seriously for a while and decided to store them. Change it quickly. After all, you are the one who is wrong. Chisha was speechless at Dasky, grabbing his back collar with one hand and no longer wanting to speak. After thinking carefully and calmly for a long time. Let's practice flying swords, using domineering power in a balanced way. Plus. Tyr hung the pea container on his waist, stretched out his hand in the air in front of him and drew a circle. Advertisement endless fantasies emerged in her mind, stimulating her like a torrential river. Is it too late for me to get off the boat now? Dasky was a little dizzy. Moreover, his current fruit ability already allows him to fight against all enemies. At such a young age, she was able to serve as petty officer 3rd class at the headquarters. On the mast of the warship, Tyr sat on the thick mast and looked at 2 bottles of pea containers filled with devil fruits and a devil fruit illustrated book in his hands. Tyr began to study the shortcomings of his own fighting, which was that excessive consumption of hockey led to his own lack of hockey. My bedroom is in Lieutenant General Tell's office. I have to deal with documents for him frequently, so it's convenient to be close. It's the kind of thing between men and women. While on Sword God Island, the sword energy in the sky was swallowed up by the hurricane created by the dragon. Dasky looked confused and asked, why are we here? Drag him directly into her room. Hockey is almost equivalent to physical strength. That is to say. Dasky's face suddenly turned a little red, and she adjusted her glasses. Have you? Happened before? We are soldiers. We can't do such a thing. Can I get another injection? Logia Hurricane, Paramecia Hormone. The two came to the door of Teal's office. The sword blade instantly condensed in front of him. Uncertain risks cannot be taken. What you are talking about? Dasky stared at Chisha in disbelief. What is it? Having a woman as her sailing companion made Chisha feel a lot more relaxed. The warships were almost entirely filled with men, so she rarely talked to anyone except for commanding. When Dasky discovered that Chisha's bedroom was in Tyr's office, everything became clear. Your clothes are too big, our figures don't fit. What are you thinking? Hancock is not here, so the kind of thing you were thinking will not happen for the time being. The Devil Fruit illustrated book clearly states, you can only eat 1 devil fruit at most, otherwise you will explode and die. Passing through the cabin corridor, under Chisha's glare, no soldier dared to look directly at Dasky. Tyr could no longer sense the boundless sword energy in the air. The consumption of domineering energy also made him pay more attention to it now. Major Dasky, you'd better go change your clothes quickly. Chisha smiled awkwardly at Dasky. How could she be so embarrassed to admit such a thing to her face? You and Ty did it. I have to. Tyr began to carefully calculate his fighting method, adjust his fighting method, and cannot directly release the ultimate move. Chapter 119 Meeting the Five Elders. After the news of the defeat of the Revolutionary Army spread around the world, Robin, who was taken to the White Earth Island, immediately fell into despair. Because, the boy who declared war on the world government for her has now become Tyr's prisoner. Above the desolation, at the Revolutionary Army headquarters base, Robin was kneeling on the ground with vacant eyes. Luffy. The interior of the base was in chaos, with documents scattered everywhere. It is the remains of the soldiers who looted their base in order to escape from the White Earth Island. Obviously, everything is getting better. What is going on, everyone? When Nico Robin learned of the defeat of the Revolutionary Army, the death of Garp, and the death of Dragon, his world has been turned upside down. Coupled with Luffy's arrest, she really doesn't know who can protect her in this world. Which family has the ability to protect her? After surviving alone for more than 20 years, she could not commit suicide. When Tyr's warship passed through the channel leading to the Grand Line from the Red Earth continent, it was intercepted by government personnel. In the middle, the CP-1 guard was stared at by Tyr. He was shaking and couldn't speak smoothly. Lieutenant General. We are ordered by the Five Elders to take you to them personally. Five Elders? People with the highest status in the world. Why do you want to see me on Marine Day? The documents sent by Warring States period have been personally reviewed by Tyr. The government's proposal to make him a general was something he never expected. Now is the period of the Fleet Admiral battle. Aokiji and Akainu each drive a warship to Punk Hisad Island. Tyr does not want to become a general at this period. However, since it is the order of the Five Elders, even Tyr cannot disobey it. Tyr jumped off the side of the ship and landed on the Red Earth continent. Please. Tyr followed the CP guard and walked outside the gate of an ancient castle in Marijoya. Two tall CP guards personally opened the huge door for Tell. Tyr looked at the dark corridor and stepped directly in. At the end of the corridor is a huge, spacious living room. There are only 3 sofas and a huge radiation screen in the center. Advertisement, come yet. As soon as Tyr entered the hall, he was interested in the weapon in the hand of an old man who looked like a samurai wearing a white feather fabric. Tell pointed to the weapon in his hand. That knife is very good. Hey, do you have good vision? This is first-generation Kitetsu, and ordinary people can't grasp it. In front of the 5 of them, Tyr's height was only a little shorter than the bald man who was making nonsense of first generation. Others are either 3, 4 or 5 meter tall guys. Comparing the person in the photo, your aura seems to be more terrifying than the rumors, the tallest agricultural warrior god said to Tyr. Just tell me what you have to say, I still have things to do. The legal martial god stared at Tyr's eyes and said, I didn't expect that the Revolutionary Army was wiped out by you. You really eliminated a big harm to the world government. What kind of reward do you want us to give you? Reward? Taylor's eyes were always on the first-generation Kitetsu, in the hands of the financial god of war, Nasushiro. Yes, you can make any request. Give me that weapon. Tyr asked directly without hesitation. You already have 4, isn't that enough? Nasushiro bumped the first-generation Kitetsu on his shoulder. This sword is not something that ordinary people can control. Then give it a try. If I can control it, then give it to me. The 5 of them were silenced for a few seconds by Tyr's strange request. Tell was asked to come here for only one purpose. That is, to see if Tell has the qualifications to become a general. There is no doubt about his strength and he definitely has such qualifications. During the previous assessment of the Lieutenant General, Kizaru was defeated by Tyr. This was something they saw clearly. The 4 of them looked at Nasushiro at the same time and said, how about you give it to him? What a joke. This is my weapon. You won't need this knife anyway, he's always clearing us of danger. This is a demon sword. What if something happens to him? Nasushiro was not unwilling. Judging from the harm that Tyr had eliminated for them, a supreme sharp knife was simply not worth the merit reward of wiping out the Revolutionary Army. This black sword of mine. Taylor stretched out his hand to pinch the moan floating behind him. It's also a demon sword. Then he threw it into the center of the 5 people with one hand. If you are worried that I will be controlled by the demon sword, that is absolutely impossible. Advertisement. The aura emanating from the mournful cry is troublesome even to the 5 great martial gods. Only by killing at least 10,000 people can one have such a terrifying dark aura. Let's put the weapons aside for now. The purpose of why we called you here must have been told to you by Warring States himself. Want me to be a general? Yes, this is unprecedented. We have also considered for a long time to let you, an 18-year-old child, take on this important task. A general has greater power and freedom, and Tyr will not give up this opportunity. Okay, what are the conditions? Becoming a Marine Admiral means gaining military and political power second only to the Fleet Admiral. Of course, it is also a force directly under the Celestial Dragons. The 5 elders went straight to the point, and everyone looked at Tyr seriously. Will you protect the authority and safety of the Tianlong people at all costs? Yes. Tyr's face was expressionless, without hesitation. He will directly agree to these things first, and then get the general position first. What a straightforward answer, but from the mission to the Sabodi Islands, it can be seen that you are capable of protecting the Tianlong people. If someone threatens the ruling power of the celestial dragons, will you stand up? Does the Revolutionary Army still exist? Tell asked the 5 of them directly and domineeringly. Obviously, the 5 of them were confused by Tyr's words and felt that his words were a bit redundant. Very good. The government needs a guy like you who can help the government solve its problems. You are so powerful and you are still so young. If you want me to become a general and maintain Tianlong's royal power, I have a condition. How dare someone ask us for conditions? Tell me, I can satisfy you as long as it doesn't go too far. In their opinion, Tyr's strength does have such qualifications. As for the previous earthquake in the Red Earth continent, they are still not sure that it was the little guy in front of them who did it. It is indeed beyond their imagination that humans can do such a thing. The Tianlong people can't take action against the people around me, that's the only condition I have. According to statistics, the current total number of Tianlong people is as high as more than 5,000, spread all over the world. And you 5 must make an absolute guarantee. Becoming a general means you have one of the highest combat capabilities in the world government. Your conditions are easy to achieve. Tyr has no good impression of the Draco, but once their regime is overthrown, how long will the world experience another war? Chapter 120 Sanji's poor realization. Therefore, Tyr has a set of countermeasures in mind to change their regime, but it is impossible to do so now. In the future, when you become a general, you may be able to gradually change. That's good. Tyr pointed at Nasoro. Is it time to give that weapon to me? You are really persistent, but this weapon. Tyr, who was eager to get the first-generation ghost, directly sucked the weapon in his hand through the air. What are you doing, kid? I think if you waste my time and don't give me some compensation, I won't leave. Then you can't take a fancy to my weapons. You are in Pangu City every day. There is no use in taking it. Give it to me. I still have to do things for you. Although he was very reluctant, thinking about the power of Tel warning a G department to wipe out the Revolutionary Army, it caused him a lot of financial trouble. Financial Marshal God, Nasushiro sighed helplessly and then compromised. Forget it, no matter what negative impact this knife brings to you, you can't blame it on me. After getting the knife, Tel turned around and prepared to leave. If there's nothing else, I still have something to do. I hope you can make a decision on the general matter after Fleet Admiral is separated. Turning against each other. The 5 elders were a little confused when their attitude changed drastically after seeing Tyr get the weapon. However, considering that Tyr eliminated the Monkey D clan and the huge organization of the Revolutionary Army, 5 elders can meet almost any of Tyr's conditions. He didn't pay much attention to Taylor's rudeness. In this world, they don't want to provoke a strong fighting force. Back on the warship, the weapons behind Tel changed from 4 to 5. Black Knife, Whale 1, Demon Sword, Thunderstorm 1, First Generation Kitetsu *1. Big Knife, Yingju 1, Muku 1. Wait, Daski, who had changed clothes and came out, recognized the new knife behind Tyr at a glance. Her breathing became rapid. It won't. You look like you're going crazy with epilepsy, Daski. Taylor cursed at her coldly. Immediately, he pulled out the blade of first-generation Kitetsu and threw away the scabbard. Ah! Daski immediately caught first-generation Kitetsu's scabbard. You are wasting your natural resources. It's not time for me to put away the blade yet. If you want to collect the first-generation Kitetsu scabbard, then I'll give it to you. That's the legendary demon sword. Daski held the scabbard of the ghost sword, held up the lens and came to Tyr, the only first-generation ghost sword with the name of Supreme Great Speed. The legendary demon knife. The moment Tyr reached out and pinched the handle of the knife, the restless aura in the knife was instantly suppressed. Get away from Tyr quickly, he will be swallowed up by the will of the demon sword. Bang! Tyr gave her a blow with his hand and knocked her down. Ah! Daski sat on the deck and covered her head, pouting and staring at Tyr with an angry look on her face. I can't help but want to give you a try, you must be seriously ill. Advertisement, you weren't affected. Seeing that Ty was holding the handle of the first-generation knife and was not affected, Daski stepped forward and wanted to try it too. What can happen? Tyr also understood in his heart that the demonic sword was not as powerful as his own, so it was suppressed instantly. Because he had killed too many people, and no amount of demonic swords could affect Tyr's mind. Let me see. Daski looked greedy and stretched out his hand to the first-generation ghost in Ty's hand. Hey. Give. The moment his palm grasped the handle of the knife, Daski fell straight to the deck. Thump. Well. The peaceful look on his face made Tyr a little anxious. Hey, Taylor pushed her. What's wrong with you? Doctor. Sure enough, there are all kinds of powers in this world, and swords are no exception. Tyr took the blade back from her hand and immediately ordered the warship to continue heading towards the kingdom of Kamabaka. Daski, who fainted, was taken into the infirmary for treatment. You really have a problem. Taylor looked at the first-generation ghost in his hand and realized that ordinary people couldn't control it at all. Then why can she play with my screams? This is something that Tyr doesn't understand. The demon sword is formed by killing too many creatures, and there are countless dead souls under the wailing blade. But it has never harmed ordinary people or issued a deterrent. Only when fighting pirates and enemies will he emit that dark and evil aura. It can be said to be a demon sword, but it has another name. That is the Sword of Justice. A few days later, on the sea 100 meters away from the Kamabaka Kingdom. The sun was shining brightly, and the sea breeze gently blew the sails of the warship. Tyr stood on the mast topless, wearing a pair of blue floral trousers and a marine hat. He formed the weak Luffy into a disc with sword blades and tied him behind him. The country of transvestites is really beautiful when viewed from overseas. I heard that this is a paradise for men. That's weird. Those she-males wearing fishnet stockings are so disgusting. The soldiers were discussing, but Tyr was the only one looking at the island in front of him with a serious face. He knew he was going to kill again. You have 8 friends, and one of them is on the island in front of you, Tyr said to Luffy. No. Don't take action against my partners. I still have many adventures with them. These days, in order to prevent Luffy from dying, all he eats are leftovers. It can be regarded as Ty's favor for his status as a pirate. Advertisement. The weather was very good on this day, and in Tyr's eyes, the kingdom of Kamabaka had only one color. That's black. Ivankov devoted all his efforts to assist Long, but ultimately suffered a disastrous defeat and was killed by Tyr. Naturally, his country could not escape Tyr's judgment. Lieutenant General, can you kill less? The warship docked, and there were only 2 people who followed Tell into the island. That was Dasky and Shisha. The other male soldiers were very disgusted with stepping into this land. No, Shisha. This island is rich in resources, and Tyr decided to kill all the remaining human monsters and use this place as a marine resource collection place. Going deep into the island, there are very few people here. There are only a handful of disgusting male citizens left who are disgusting, wearing dresses and various female decorations, and wearing heavy makeup, looking at the arrival of Tyr in astonishment on the street. It seems like your partner. Taylor reached out and held the hilt of the first-generation Kitetsu sword and walked into the disgusting town. You really blended in with them. Luffy, a blond man with curly eyebrows, wearing a pink dress, smoking a cigarette, looked at Tyr, who walked into the town of Kamabaka Kingdom with a shocked look on his face. And Luffy behind Tail was what shocked him the most. Run, Sanji. Everything said in the newspaper is true. Sanji was surprised and immediately took off his female clothes and walked towards Tyr. In a sense, for the sake of the kingdom of Germa, I can give you a chance to live. Tyr came to Sanji. His whole body was full of hostility towards him. You're here to kill me. That's right. Tail controlled Yingju to float in front of Sanji. As long as you pick up this weapon, cut off the Straw Hat Boy's wasted right arm. What will happen if I say no? Sanji's expression suddenly became serious. Boom. The moment he said these words, Tail pointed the tip of the first-generation ghost sword at him and released a terrifying sword energy at him. Sanji was instantly swallowed by the sword energy, so painful that he even dropped the cigarette in his mouth to the ground. Sanji. Damn it. Luffy watched Sanji being knocked away, his weak body trying to struggle but unable to do anything. Ahem. Sanji was hit by the sword energy and hit the wall of a building. He coughed out blood and looked embarrassed for a moment. Then I can only kill you. At that time in Baratie, I discovered that you were a great guy. Sanji, who had been seriously injured, vomited blood and knelt on the ground looking at Tell. Well, I was on vacation at that time and I wasn't interested in you. But if I break the agreement with the captain or something. Sanji forced himself to stand up and took out a cigarette again and put it in his mouth. That is impossible. Sanji lit a cigarette and rubbed his legs on the ground at high speed. The heat from the friction ignited the entire right calf into a fighting posture. Devil wind legs, Luffy wants to be the man of One Piece. The experience we had 6 months ago was the best time I have ever had in this world. Poor Awakening. Chapter 121, the strongest in history. As expected of our favorite Lil Sanji. Seeing that Sanji was about to fight, the she-males took the lead in attacking Tyr for him. It's a pity. There is one less chef, Tell said in a deep voice, then raised his arms and waved his sword at the she-males. When the first-generation ghost sword chi condensed in Ty's hand and the sword was swung horizontally, a devastating slash instantly swallowed up all the demons. The sword energy was like a bright bolt of lightning, shooting out from the tips of the swords, cutting through the air in an instant, and striking towards the town of Kamabaka Kingdom. Until it chopped up the town and drew a gorgeous arc in the air, Sanji, who was about to take action, was so shocked that his eyes dropped to the ground and he looked back. The town has been destroyed by sword energy and turned into ruins. Monster. B******************. Seeing the power of Tyr's sword, Sanji broke out in a cold sweat and smiled. He understood that the fighting power of Tyr was not from the same dimension. In shock, Tyr appeared in front of him and stabbed his chest with a knife. Before Sanji could react, he just felt a chill in his chest. I won't ask a second time. Tyr's cold voice entered his ears. The demonic wind that was just aroused instantly dimmed and lost its luster. Sanji. Shan. Ah. The human demons who helped him turned into dust in an instant under the strike of Tyr's sword just now. I don't want to be One Piece anymore, please. Please save him. Luffy looked at Sanji kneeling on the ground, the moment when Tyr pulled out the first-generation ghost on his chest. The belief in his mind also collapsed. Losing his partner was something he had never thought about. You can't regret it now, Straw Hat Boy. Luffy, I'm sorry. Sanji's spirit of chivalry made him endure the pain and say, I can't help you become king. Immediately, the light of the sword flashed on his neck, and his head was chopped off by Tyr. Holding Sanji's hair, Tail walked up to Luffy. Come, hug your partner. Ah. Luffy suddenly shrank into pin-sized pupils, unable to believe what he was seeing. Wow. Let's go to the next area, the Changhan clan concert. Tail hung Sanji's head around Luffy's neck with a rope. Give him something to eat, or give him some nutrient solution. It won't be fun if he dies in the middle. Facing this kind of scene, Tyr doesn't have any trouble in his heart now. On the other hand, the Straw Hat Boy had passed out from excessive pain, which showed how important his partner was to him. Is he always so cruel? Dasky was shocked by Tyr's decisiveness, and suddenly felt that Tyr was very strange. It was understandable that Tyr would be cruel to his enemies during the war, but in private he really enjoyed beheading and torturing people as shown in the news, which she never expected. Advertisement Shisha just said, and didn't respond too much. She understood that Tyr would not stop. Back on the warship, Tel contacted his G-base and incorporated the Kamabaka Kingdom as a resource development site for the military base. There is absolutely no need to obtain approval from the department, but the documents must be submitted. Sanji's life ended, and a lifecard was burned up in the North Blue Jerma Kingdom laboratory. Killing Straw Hat's first partner caused him to suffer a mental breakdown. This was something Taylor never expected. The warship left the Kamabaka Kingdom and headed to the next target. The Kingdom of Tenakaina is the country of the Longhand clan. In News Daily, it was said that a Soul King musician appeared in the Kingdom of Tenakaina. Tyr was trembling a little as he read the information about Brook, the Straw Hat crew. The thick white bones stimulated his nerves all the time, as if he was being watched with fear by Shinigami. Shinigami's sense of oppression was an experience he could never forget in his life. What's wrong with you, Lieutenant General Teal? I want to kill him. Tyr will definitely destroy things like the underworld fruit. He never wanted to see that bone that made him tremble again. Given your character, Lieutenant General, you shouldn't feel anything when you see a skeleton, right? What if? Tyr turned to look at Chisha with a look of fear on his face. What if it's a living skeleton, wearing a black cloak and holding a scythe? Isn't that the Shinigami in the fairy tale? It doesn't exist at all. No, he really exists, Taylor said with a very certain tone. What will Straw Hat Luffy become? Just one partner's head falling on his neck caused him to have a nervous breakdown. Tel couldn't believe that there were 8 other heads hanging on his neck. If it doesn't work, it won't work. Why panic? Tel said calmly. As commanded. Okay, let's go take a look. Taylor was ready to get information. The purpose of releasing the World Journal is to let other members of the Straw Hats see the news and prepare them for it. Advertisement, could it be? Chisha covered her mouth with a look of disbelief. Her mind had already quickly analyzed the meaning of Tyr's words. She agreed decisively and readily without declining. After 2 days of sailing in the extremely bad weather of the New World, we arrived at the terminal of Tenakina Kingdom from Kamabaka Kingdom. This was the beginning of his death, so it would be of no use to Tyr to keep him. After landing on the island, Tyr's marine code is particularly conspicuous here, making people avoid it. It seems that everyone on the island is afraid of Marine arresting them. Help me, Marine. Full speed ahead. The Marine Lieutenant General who just destroyed the Revolutionary Army not long ago is recognized as the strongest and youngest Marine in history. Reef. Taking Chisha close to the slave trading site, the 5 floating knives behind Tyr really startled everyone. Telephone. The Straw Hat Boy is dying. Dasky ran out of the cage, looking a little panicked. It would be great if he was still alive and saw this scene with his own eyes. You are the Marine Sword God. Unfortunately, there is no resurrection after death. As soon as he entered the chaotic town, Tel heard calls for help in the distance. The odds are slim. No problem. Give him some nutrient solution or something. If he doesn't survive, notify Department G to announce his death to the world. He is on the verge of a mental breakdown and his life is in danger at any time. The military doctor informed Tyr of the Straw Hat Boy's condition. Knife Kai, I'll leave the warship to you to take care of. Tyr took Chisha to the land and said to Dasky. Taylor directly interrupted the topic, not wanting to continue the conversation. The last bloodline of the monkey family ended on the ocean. Can you survive? The desperate feeling of having his soul torn apart was still fresh in his memory. It's pleasant. Tyr clenched his fists, recalling the feeling of being betrayed by Garp. The arrival of the warship caused panic among the people on this island, where human trafficking is common and people of all faiths and religions are spread. Go and have a look, Lieutenant General. Shisha pointed to a slave-selling counter not far from the street. Chapter 122 Brooks' Last Concert, the Strongest in History? Teal was a little surprised by these strange titles. It has been less than 2 weeks since the Revolutionary Army was destroyed. Is the content on the news already so outrageous? I have learned about the Long-Handed Clan, Shisha said. The arms of the Long-Handed people have one or several more joints than normal people. It is a country that abducts and robs small countries' populations. It is called a country of thieves. Okay, don't talk too long, Shisha. Oh. Teal went directly to the hard-selling table, and the crying man asked. What happened? *Whole Marine, if you don't want to buy slaves, please get down immediately. After being scolded, Tyr's face turned a little cold. They deceive us like animals and then sell us on the streets like dogs. You slaves, stop talking. The slave owners signaled to the staff and whipped these slaves they captured from other small countries. Snapped. I'm asking him a question. Teal looked back with a look that contained infinite murderous intent, frightening the muscular staff on the stage. He stopped immediately, his arms were trembling and he didn't dare to swing the whip. Even though you are a Marine, you cannot break the treaty between our kingdoms. This country is a member of the world government, but has never participated in a world conference because it is too poor and can only afford gold from heaven. Did he make any mistakes? Tell asked. A weak person is a weak person. If he is caught by us, it will be his fate that is his fault. Really? You follow the law of the jungle, right? No. The staff member looked at Tyr walking towards him, stammering and unable to speak. Wrong. I'm just a farmer. My wife and children were sold by them. My life and death are still unknown. Marine, help me. Farmer? This Lord Marine. The slave owner saw Tyr walking towards his staff. He stood up with a smile on his face. Let me explain. I rarely uphold justice among civilians, otherwise I would really let you see the law of the jungle. These 4 words are all too familiar to Taylor. Master Marine, he was caught by us because of gambling. No. When the slave heard this, he immediately retorted. Mood swings and changes are too abnormal. Advertisement. We were forcibly captured and brought here. From the perspective of emotional fluctuations, farmers' words are more credible. On the other hand, the slave owner in front of Tyr seemed to be adding more crimes to the man. He lied, Lord Tyr. Shisha drew her saber. Although she is a civilian and military attaché, she also possesses the power of knowledge and can observe emotional fluctuations. In front of a strong man, Tel pointed to the slave owner's forehead. It's better to explain everything than to lie. Obviously, these long-handed people are not good things, Lieutenant General. The reputation of the Changshu clan in the world is not very good. They're a place rich in thieves. I can't let him go for you. The slave owner did not compromise even under the threat of death. Marine. Our country has its own way of operating in order to make money from the sky. You should not get involved. Gold from heaven? The resources on the island are already scarce, so we can only think of this way to earn money from the nobles. If you force your way into it, a lot of people will die in this country. These words made Tyr think quickly, and finally decided to solve the problem without force. After all, he wasn't a pirate, so Tyr could still analyze what was good and what was bad. This is related to the issue of heavenly gold. He really has no right to care about it. Lieutenant General. We have to kill them. Shisha was always ready to take action. After thinking about it, Tyr stepped down from the slave platform, patted Shisha on the shoulder and said softly, in a country that relies on theft, the death of many people can be considered a lesson. Slave traders, an existence that makes people more angry than pirates, are one of the types that Shisha hates. Tyr did not take action himself, but asked Shisha to take action. He listened to the fighting behind him and walked into a restaurant. Continuously. Taylor pulled off the money bag from his waist and put it on the dining table. It's delicious. No problem. As long as you have money, it's no problem. The restaurant owner immediately agreed and ordered the staff to cook for Tyr. The poster of the King of Seoul. Taylor pointed to Brooks' concert poster. Where is it? In the center of town. There's nothing here at the docks. That is to say. Tyr smiled evilly, giving people a bad feeling. He is on this island, right? That's right. Walking onto the final stage, Brooke looked towards the audience. Reserve the venue. Taylor withdrew 4 million Baileys and placed it in his hands. Brooke, what do you mean? Sankeli didn't understand what he said. This is the law of the jungle. Advertisement behind the concert stage. Sankeli came to Brooke's preparation room with the money. We are fans of the King of Seoul and came here specially to watch the concert. The concert hasn't started yet. This is 4 million Baileys, which is earned from several concerts. Kill him, Lieutenant General. That's right. Brooke looked at the guitar in his hand. It seems. This is my last performance, Mr. Luffy. Get ready now. All the experiences of drifting in the Devil's Triangle of the Grand Line for 50 years, then being snatched away by Moonlight Moria, and then being rescued by Straw Hat Luffy and becoming his partner. There is no justice in dealing with these matters. Marine was also attracted by that guy's singing. I'm here. Really, it would be great to have Marine-sama taking care of you. So what? Sankeli disagreed and insisted on letting Brook perform on the stage. This makes Sankeli, Brook's current agent, a little confused with so much money. Can you tell me something? He picked up the phone and asked about Teal. 4 million. Hey, Sankeli, that guy is a Marine. A very incredible pirate. Let him fall into short memories at this moment. The recent news on the sea is all about him. Teal, who walked towards the audience, continued, tell him to perform immediately. Tyr treated slave traders just like he treated pirates, especially those from the Longhand clan. Nothing. Brook picked up the guitar and stood up and walked to the stage. It's really a short experience and adventure after a comeback. It's not like he's just an ordinary Marine with a few weapons stuck in his back. Huh? The agent noticed Tell walking in and immediately came to the tent door to greet him. Seeing that Tyr was about to reach out and grab the weapon, Shisha reached out to stop him. The agent raised his hand and asked, Marine, what are you? Mr. Sankeli, is that Marine from the newspaper here? To be sure, he asked. After the meal, the two came to the huge tent where the King of Souls concert was held in the center of the city. It was certain that Tell from the newspaper came in person, and he couldn't think of any way to escape. After Shisha dealt with the innocent slave matter, she ran over to the opposite side of Tyr's dining table. Brook, who was sitting on a chair in the preparation room, heard the conversation between Sankeli and his two men. Chapter 123 The inheritance is cut off and Luffy is beheaded. The bones made Tyr extremely vigilant, fearing that a giant scythe would appear out of thin air in his hand instead of a guitar. What does the dead man have to ask? Our captain, where is Straw Hat Luffy? Is he still alive? This is the only thing Brook wants to know. Nearly dead, but alive, in a cage on a coastal warship. Really? Then, Brook started his last concert. About 10 minutes later, Brook wanted to use the power of music to affect his heart, briefly distracting Taylor and making a sneak attack. The cane sword thrust towards Tyr at lightning speed. Ding! The tip of the crutch was blocked by the blade of Tyr's black knife. What did you do to my captain? Brook vented his anger to Tyr. You're not. Tyr roared angrily. He instantly grasped the handle of the black knife, and then slashed at him with all his strength. There was no room left. The sword light instantly shattered the crutch knife in Brook's hand, and cut off his right arm as well. Compared to Shinigami's power, his power is insignificant in front of Tyr. Brook was knocked back to the stage, kneeling on the ground and clutching the bones of his right arm. How could there be such a powerful force? That guy will definitely wake up again, and I want to let him get some more stimulation. Taylor had already thought of how to use Brook to stimulate the Straw Hat Boy. The remnant of the Garp family must become his outlet. Brook's manager, Sankeli, saw Tell walking onto the stage with a knife and cutting off Brook's bones one by one, and immediately ran out to question him. Hey, what are you doing? Boom! The moment he got close to Tell, the entire concert tent exploded like an exploding balloon. Let the sunlight shine in. The explosive atmosphere spread to the streets and alleys of the town, attracting the attention of all the Changshu residents. What's going on? What happened at the King of Souls concert? Hurry over and see if the explosion didn't hurt him. Brook's fans swarmed outside the exploded tent and watched as Teal walked out carrying Brook with only a skeleton left. Marine, what did you do to our idol? What's going on? Why did Marine come to capture the King of Souls? His singing makes us full of hope in life. Faced with these unreasonable fans, Teal did not stop and continued to move forward. Please civilians disperse. Don't get close. Shisha was worried about Tyr killing, so she ran forward to disperse a large number of civilians. Get out of our way. Marine. Shisha's kind words were immediately swallowed up by the swarming civilians. Don't go there, he's a pirate. Advertisement. Even if he is a pirate, we must seek justice for him. The degree of star chasing among these civilians has reached an extremely twisted level. That's right. Pirates must have justice. Tyr slowly raised his right arm and slashed forward with a knife. Shisha rushed out of the crowd and opened her hands in front of him. Don't kill civilians. Lieutenant General, there are children in here. The civilians who still didn't understand what was about to happen pushed Shisha away and wanted to ask Tyr face to face why he kidnapped their idol. Tyr, who retracted his sword, released Conqueror's breath, instantly causing all nearby civilians to collapse and faint. Sisha, who successfully prevented Tyr from killing, also learned this lesson. Some civilians are not worth protecting. Tyr came to Shisha and touched her head. They are not worthy of our protection. Learn. You owe it to yourself, Shisha. As a major general, she knew Tyr's style. However, she felt that what Tell said was very reasonable. Some ordinary people were not worth protecting. Late at night, the sound of rustling dust particles sounded under the flickering oil lamp. Luffy in the cage slowly opened his eyes from his mental breakdown. Where am I? He turned to look at the needle next to him that was injecting nutrient solution, and then looked at Sanji's rotten head under his neck. Ah, he had just woken up and was stimulated again. Are you awake? Tyr held a large bowl, grabbed white powder from it and threw it into the bowl again and again in front of him. What are you going to do? Luffy screamed at Tail in despair. Under the oil lamp, he could just see Teal's whole face clearly, sitting on a chair outside the cage and watching him coldly. Hiss. Tyr continued to grab the white dust particles in the bowl and dangle them in front of Luffy's eyes. Do you know what this is? Who knows? I won't do One Piece anymore, let me go. Luffy looked at Tyr. Suddenly I found a familiar cane knife and a familiar violin. Let you go? Just because you don't know how to do One Piece? Then what do you want? Luffy tried hard to remember the cane, knife, and violin next to Tail. The eyes that had just returned to normal became eager to move. Brook's violin and weapons. Luffy muttered hoarsely, what did you do to him? This bone meal is good. Seeing that you are weak, can I get you some hot soup to replenish your health? Luffy looked at Tyr's finger again, his heart suddenly stopped and he held his breath. I'm very worried about your health, Straw Hat Luffy. Brook. You drove Brook into bone meal. Tyr was suddenly stunned and felt that Luffy was a lot smarter. Advertisement holding Brook's bone meal, he stood up, opened the cell door and walked in. He came to the wall where Luffy was locked and looked at him. There are 6 left. Including yourself, there are 7 in total, right? No. Don't attack my friends again. I won't be a pirate anymore. Wow. The cry of extreme pain echoed from the deck and spread across the tranquil ocean. Suddenly I'm tired of torturing a kid like you. Tail held the black knife and drew it across Luffy's left arm. The pain overcame the mental anguish, making it unbearable for him to keep begging Tyr. Please. I have nothing left, only my friends. The hand covering the black sword quickly pulled it down, and the blade directly chopped off Luffy's entire left arm. Ah, does it hurt? Taylor asked. It hurts, help. Help me, please, I will never be a pirate again. It hurts, that's right. In his heart, Tyr had no sympathy for his misery. You should bear the punch Garp threw at me. Forget it, I am no longer interested in you now. Grandpa is none of my business. Being so unable to withstand the torture, Tyr was tired of him. Putting the tip of the black knife into Luffy's heart, Tail completely settled the matter with the monkey family. Now that you fall into my hands, there is not much meaning in living. I won't die like this. Now Luffy, Tail can no longer show any interest. My faith has been defeated, so there is no need to continue the torture. Insert the knife in. Well. Luffy's whole body was trembling slightly, and there was slowly no movement from his feet to his head. Come here. Tyr pulled out the blade and unlocked Luffy's shackles. Use the P container to absorb the animal type, fantasy beast type, human fruit, and Nika form into the container. Just in case, Tyr stabbed him one more time, chopped off his head and put it with the body. A soldier came to the lower deck and was so frightened when he saw the scene in front of him. Lieutenant General, did you kill Monkey D. Luffy? Take a photo and release the news to the world tomorrow. Tell walked out of the cell, then throw his body into the sea to feed the fish. Yes. One Piece's will, whether it is blood or inheritance, was completely severed the moment Luffy died. Tyr's next goal is to find the Straw Hat crew. I plan to give the soldiers on the ship a holiday or something. Relying on the memory in his mind, he planned to find a technological island for meteorological research alone in the clouds of the Grand Route. Chapter 124 Visalia Sky Island, Zoro's awakening the next day. A piece of news that shocked the world once again spread throughout the Grand Line and New World. The biggest whirlpool in the extremely evil era, the news and photos of Monkey D. Luffy being beheaded by the Marine Sword God were published on the headlines of World Daily. This is Crygana Island, the permanent home of the 7 warlords of the sea. A pink-haired girl with twin ponytails sat on the top of the huge castle ruins of the kingdom and took the newspaper dropped by the seagull. Seeing the information and headlines inside, her eyes widened in disbelief. Immediately fly into the castle and bring the newspaper to Shichibukai, Mahawk. Eagle Eye, look at this news. In the ruins castle of the kingdom, Hawkeye stood by the window holding red wine and watched Roronoa Zoro fighting the baboons in the dark jungle. Did the Straw Hat boy suffer too? The content details the news that Tyr is hunting down the remnants of the Straw Hats. He immediately analyzed that Tyr would be coming to this place soon. As a Shichibukai, Hawkeye doesn't want to fight the beast of Tyr just to protect Zoro. The reason is obvious. Once there is a conflict with Tyr, it will not be as simple as comparing sword skills and swordsmanship. The two will decide the winner in a short time. I already know the news. After roughly understanding the content, Hawkeye said calmly, it's up to you whether you want to tell Roronoa or not. In order to become stronger, Zoro apprenticed to Hawkeye and was training hard. He wanted to use the swordsmanship taught to him by Hawkeye to defeat him again and become the world's greatest swordsman. Perona's voice was trembling a little. If you tell that super crazy guy about this kind of thing. In the dark jungle of Crygana Island, Zoro fought bloody battles with the baboons for an hour and returned to the castle with injuries all over his body. Damn it. I'm not strong enough. Zoro kept thinking about the Sabodi Islands and the news about the war. He concentrated on training and received no other news. For example, news about Tyr's destruction of the Revolutionary Army and Luffy's arrest. The baboons are also under the orders of Hawkeye and are not allowed to kill Zoro, and can only be used as a training partner. Entering the castle, Zoro took out a medical bandage and wrapped it around his body as usual. Advertisement Perona and Hawkeye came behind him, which made Zoro realize that something was wrong. What's wrong? You two are acting strangely today. Little ghost girl, let him see this kind of thing. After all, it is a big deal for him. Lukai, you have to be mentally prepared. Perona handed the newspaper to Zoro. Newspaper? Zoro was still confused at the moment, not knowing what happened, and reached out to take the newspaper. The Straw Hats were annihilated, the captain and the chef were executed and beheaded by the marine sword god one after another. Sexy cook, Luffy. The moment Zoro saw this news, he couldn't sit still. He held the newspaper tightly with both hands, unwilling to believe such a thing at all. Hey, this kind of thing must be fake. His expression immediately became ferocious, and he looked at Hawkeye and Perona in confusion. No, this is from the New World Marine G8 base. There has never been any false news. I've been working hard for half a year. For what on earth? Luffy is dead. Zoro learned the news of Luffy's death and couldn't accept the fact at all. As if he had lost everything, unable to find any motivation to continue working hard, his legs went limp and he knelt on the floor. Everything is meaningless. Is this a compromise? Hawkeye looked at Zoro, who instantly lost all fighting spirit due to Luffy's death. Aren't you going to defeat me? Roronoa. I can't even protect the captain, so why talk about ambition? Zoro's voice was hoarse, and he completely lost any fighting spirit and belief. Luffy's death dealt him a heavy blow, and the promises he made with his friends on the ship turned into illusory bubbles in an instant. If your dream is broken, change it to another one, Hawkeye continued. Huh? Zoro didn't understand what Hawkeye meant. Roronoa, no matter what happens in the world, people must always move forward alive. I don't understand what you are talking about. My mind is completely blank right now. In your current state, you can only find another way, Hawkeye said to Zoro while holding red wine. First, wait here to die. If that man really comes, I'm afraid I won't be able to protect your safety. Death. Second, didn't that man give you a black knife to fight with me? Hawkeye recalled the incident at Barati's restaurant. What does this mean? He is the one who killed Luffy and the lecherous cook. Advertisement. This shows that that man is interested in you. Maybe you can survive his knife. Listening to Hawkeye's words, Zoro suddenly felt as if Hawkeye was humiliating him. It was also hard for him to imagine that Tyr, whom they met when traveling together before they made the pirate flag, could be such a terrifying marine. A person who refines a black sword will not easily give the weapon to a stranger, Roronoa, unless he knows or trusts him. He is interested in me. Why? Zoro didn't understand. I have no relationship with him at all, or even not familiar with him at all. I don't know, and I don't want to say anything more. You can decide now whether you want to live or die. The only thing Zoro is sure of now is that Luffy is dead, but he is still alive. He has two paths. He is drifting on the sea as a wanted pirate, but this option is definitely not feasible because Tail is hunting down all members of the Straw Hats. The second one is to wait here for Tyr to come and give him the final judgment. Either way leads to death. After thinking for a long time, he regained his composure. There is no door to hell, everything must follow the laws of nature. That guy kills without blinking an eye, you idiot, Perona scolded Zoro. This sea is full of marines' eyes and ears, so where can we escape? The captain is gone, and Zoro doesn't want to continue escaping. At this moment, all he can think about is continuous training to meet his final fate. It's up to you. As long as I have news about Lord Moria, I will immediately leave you two stupid men and go to him. According to Hawkeye's intelligence, Tyr now not only has terrifying strength, but also has such a big backer behind Marine. It is rumored that he has an affair with a celestial dragon, and he is a difficult person to offend in the whole world. The Monkey D clan was now eliminated by him in just 2 months. Time 2. Those dead Straw Hat friends, above the clouds of the Great Root. A gas research island called Visalia. Tyr arrived here armed only with a black knife and wearing colorful summer clothes. Falling from the sky, he sat on a food roll and watched a group of old men passing by who hadn't noticed him yet. Taylor has been searching for 3 days in the clouds of the Grand Route since he killed Luffy, and now the ship is still docked at the St. Fadru Island. The soldiers were given a salary that was twice as high as before, allowing them to have a good time. Chapter 125. You choose life or death yourself. Sunlight like a rainbow shines on the empty island where Tyr is located. What? The sheep imprisoned in the pasture bleated, which attracted the attention of several meteorological scientists. Young man, who are you? The old man found Tell and asked. Me? Taylor pressed the marine duckbill hat on his head and pointed to Marine on the brim. Do you recognize these letters? Marine. Several old people were shocked. Marine had never found such a place before. You guessed it right, ha 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 ha. After the monkey family was wiped out, Tyr's mood became much better. I'm in a good mood. If you hand over this woman, I think I will spare you. Tel took out Nami's reward order and pointed at her profile picture with a smile on his face and told several people. This Sky Island is not big, and even if Tyr had the ability to fly, it would still take him 3 days to search for it on the Grand Route. It is a very suitable place to store the container of Devil Fruit ability, and it is also very suitable for Tyr to retire on this empty island after completing everything. What's wrong? Taylor saw several people standing still and said, you should know that she is a pirate, right? Turning into sword energy, Tyr appeared in front of an old man with a knife in hand. Nami is a good boy. The old man stared at Tyr's pupils, his head suddenly felt dizzy. The gaze from the phantom beast will cause ordinary people to lose consciousness and be controlled by Tyr. The attack is almost permanent. In the Holy Land of Marijoya, Tyr used this trick to control the guards and assassinate the celestial dragons. Teal controlled all these meteorological scientists. Okay, the opening just now was wrong. Taylor asked them to line up in a row, with his back to them. Actually, I don't need to ask you to know. Nami is studying in the small room ahead, perfecting her navigation skills. Do you have any instructions, Master Sword God? Almost all the old men had empty eyes and no self-awareness. Compile all the results of your research and a series of weather data about the Grand Route. Yes. Then, don't bother me. Tyr smiled evilly and walked along the path towards the hut ahead. The demise of the monkey clan has made everything he does now much easier. So relaxed that I want to have fun, very perverted fun. Arriving at the hut where Nami was, Tyr stood at the open window for a long time without seeing her raise her head. In this way, Tyr suppressed his own aura and looked at Nami's whole body from head to toe. About 1.7 meters tall. Advertisement for now, Tyr can only be regarded as a lowly. Huh? Nami suddenly looked up to admire the clouds, but found a living person standing in front of the window. You are. The moment she saw Tyr, she was so shocked that she stood up from the chair and backed away. White and beautiful, that's how you describe a woman like you, right? Tel said to Nami. How's Luffy doing with the marine from the Barati and Sabodi Islands? However, Nami learned that the Revolutionary Army was destroyed by Tyr, including Luffy's arrest by him. Fortunately, I brought a copy with me. Taylor waved his finger to the sky, and a newspaper flew from the clouds to Nami, dead. Nami today is different from a year ago. From short orange hair to long orange hair now, it has added a bit of maturity that a woman should have, and her figure is plumper than when she met in Barati before. Her attire also changed. She wore a t-shirt on the upper body and a pleated miniskirt on the lower body, completely exposing her figure to Taylor's eyes. Luffy. Beheaded by you. Tears instantly flowed from her eyes. After reading the above, she covered her mouth and continued to distance herself from Tail, Sanji. Brook. Also. Liar. A feeling of despair swept through her heart, making Nami almost unable to think normally at this moment. He looked at Tyr, who was smiling evilly at him, and fear began to spread to every cell in his body. Even though Tyr didn't release any breath, to be honest, Taylor summoned a bottle of cold beer from nowhere and held it in his hand, then pointed at Nami. You have a very good figure. My figure is wrong. You actually killed Luffy. Their family is all dead. Tyr sat down by the window of the cabin and drank a sip of beer. I am considering whether to kill you or not. Kill me. Nami's almost suffocating, trembling voice represented the fear in her heart at the moment. His legs softened and he fell directly to the ground. Cut off your head too, and then go and stimulate your next partner. Tyr's joyful smile cannot be replaced at any time in the past 5 years. Except for Tiffany, however, Tyr knew that there was no way back. Enjoying the moment is the true meaning of life. Ah. The moment Nami heard that Taylor was about to chop her head off, she rolled and crawled towards the outside of the house. Help. During the Warring States period, Tyr would definitely not be allowed to go to war with the 4 emperors. You're going to use that collar on me. What did you take me for? Nami looked in disbelief, having just woken up from Luffy's death. Are you going to be humiliated again? What are you going to do to me? Nami was almost suffocated in despair, without any backing or any chance of escape. He lay down by the window and started drinking. Advertisement. Put your hands on the ground and kneel on the ground. After escaping from this hut, she didn't know how to return to the sea. Stop screaming, no one will come to save you. She had no choice but to comply with Tyr's threats. With tears streaming down his face, he crawled towards Tell on the window little by little, just for the hope of living. That will have to wait until Sakazuki takes over. What's more, Tyr now hates Warring States so much that he refuses his orders. 1, 2. Kneel down and crawl over to please me. Taylor finished a bottle of beer, then reached towards the clouds and picked up another bottle. The black knife has blocked the door. In her eyes, Luffy, a strong man like a monster, was killed by the marine in front of her. He has no so-called chivalry, such stupid ideas as not to beat or kill women. That's okay. Feeling humiliated, she resisted doing these actions. This era is already moving towards Tyr. The greatest evil that spreads pirates has been eradicated by him. The next step is the war against the 4 emperors. I'll do it, please. Don't attack me. Nami endured the humiliation and started to open her mouth, meow. Tyr enjoys the treatment that a time traveler has. What the hell kind of life was he living before? You would attack a defenseless woman? She didn't want to be like the headlines? Nami tried to open the gate of opening, but she even pulled off the door handle and failed to open it. I count to 3. If you don't want to crawl over to please me, I'll cut off one of your fingers. What do you think it is? Of course it's a plaything, Taylor said casually. If you want to survive, you can only do whatever I say. If you resist, it will be the same as in the newspaper. Imitate the cat's meow and crawl over here. Taylor moved his fingers slightly again and summoned the collar he had prepared in advance into his hand. Ah, pleasant. Tyr enjoyed controlling everything about this beautiful pirate. It's so pleasurable. There is a sense of fear in Nami. If she doesn't follow the instructions, she will really lose parts of her body in the next moment. The cry of despair, no one can hear it on this empty island. Yes, and it will be very cruel. Teal said it very intuitively. If you hold this kind of thought in such a world, isn't it looking for death? Conquering a female pirate with an extremely good figure in this way simply made Tyr's primitive instincts as a creature a little restless. He didn't have any chance to run away under Tyr's nose. Chapter 126 Little Thieving Cat, Battle for Fleet Admiral. Are you satisfied? Nami crawled under Taylor's cleats and looked at Taylor with a perverted expression. No, I'm not satisfied. If this kind of woman is left to control, it might be of some use. However, if she falls under the gaze of a fantasy beast, she will no longer have any humanity, and Tyr does not intend to turn her into a puppet. That would be so boring. How about changing your expression? Taylor summoned the black knife to his right hand and lifted her chin with the tip of the knife. This knife. Nami saw only endless fear from the dark aura on the knife. How many people have you killed? I've lost count. Human? After hearing this, Nami's first reaction was that Tyr was not human. The emotional fluctuations that frightened her even more strongly invaded her, causing her to almost lose all the strength to act. Fear reaches a high point. Devil. Don't get me wrong, most of the people I killed were pirates, and there is a kingdom where the whole country is full of thieves. It was Sengoku who turned Tail into a pirate executioner, and Tail does not regret becoming what he is now. How sad is it to have no strength in such a world? Patting Nami's face with the tip of the knife, Taylor continued to order her, take off your shirt. Are you going to do this to me? That's right, I just want to do that kind of thing to you. I am a man and I am also very interested in fair-skinned and beautiful women. No, this kind of thing will kill you. When he said these words, the pain from the tip of the knife piercing his skin made Nami even more convinced that Tyr would kill him without hesitation. I'll take it off. Don't. If you make me feel bored. Taylor took a deep breath. I will kill you and throw you into the sea like Luffy did. Is Marine such a wretched and y person? Nami took off her upper body t-shirt, revealing her flawless body in silhouette to Tyr's eyes. Obscene. Tail smiled. Then I really appreciate you praising me. Compared to pirates, I think I am quite humane. Advertisement jumping down from the window, Tyr approached Nami and pointed his finger between her eyebrows. My sword energy actually has the effect of affecting the human body's reaction. As long as it is used appropriately, it will. As he spoke, Tyr poured a trace of sword energy into Nami's brain, hoping that she would not put on a disappointing expression. A small amount of sword energy rushed into her brain, dialyzing every nerve in her brain for an instant. Nami's brain suddenly sent signals to her whole body, making her body twice as happy. Dwang. Then, Taylor reached out and touched her waist. Nami's face suddenly turned red to the extreme. She gritted her teeth and raised her head, unable to bear the feeling of pleasure in her body. You did. What to me? It's nothing, just testing my perverted abilities. Your body has become so weird. Nami struggled. Her body suffered unprecedented stimulation, and she instantly collapsed and fell to the ground together with her body. I will torture you until you are in a state of ecstasy, little thief cat. Tyr came to her side and squatted down, staring at her uncomfortable and hungry look. I will not take the initiative to touch you, but let you crawl on your own. Come to me. In Tyr's current view, even the Straw Hats are much less vicious than other pirates. But they are still pirates, and as long as they are pirates, it doesn't matter how they are tortured. How could I possibly take the initiative to do something like that? It's possible that once biological sexual desire reaches its extreme, men may be able to endure it, but women will definitely not be able to stay rational. From Nami's perspective, it's no exaggeration to say that Tyr is now the ultimate pervert. Seeing that Nami could bear it, Taylor continued to increase his strength. Until Nami's whole body was hot, her face was as red as a pan, and she was gasping for air on the ground. That's enough. If you make it bigger, I'm afraid you'll die. Tyr crossed his legs and sat on the edge of the bed, admiring her every move. The disappearing tears turned into irrational eyes, as if there was nothing left in Nami's mind at the moment. Partners? Bonds? And all agreements, all were corrupted by Tyr's ability? She climbed up with difficulty, and fell down again when she took the first step. Luffy. Everyone, I'm sorry. He came to Teal's side little by little, looking up at Teal with a charming look. Advertisement, isn't this very honest? Tyr subconsciously realized that he was perverted enough. But if he is not perverted and puts his own 3 views into this world, he will become an out-and-out lunatic. Rather than becoming like that, Tyr might as well join all the concepts in this world. Then enjoy the unique taste of women with advanced knowledge and information. I have completely lost my mind. Can you? Don't kill me. Nami bit her lip and made one last rational beg in Tyr's ear. I don't want to die yet. Can. The first bloom of spring invaded every cell in Nami's body, and she became even more uncontrollable under Tyr's caressing. After that, the sun and moon rotated around on this empty island for an unknown number of days. Punk hazard. 2 huge marine warships arrive at the coast. We're here, General Sakaski. We have reached our target, General Kuzan. The warships of Kuzan and Sakaski docked at the same time from both ends of the island. If we let him become the fleet admiral, Justice will become a legitimate killing machine. Kuzan landed on the island and walked towards the agreed place. The path that the Code of Justice passes through is a cold, snow-white land. On the other end of the island was the hot breath of hell magma. The two reached the center of the island and looked at each other. Kuzan. Sakaski said, if justice falls into the hands of people like you, evil will definitely run rampant in Marine. Cold-blooded B*****************. D. Kuzan put aside his usual lazy look and stared at Sakaski with a serious face. You made me see clearly the essence of complete justice in OHA. If justice falls into your hands, what will happen again? How many innocent people have been accidentally killed by you? The two have different concepts. Aokiji believes that absolute justice will turn people into mass murderers. On the other hand, Akainu feels that sacrifice is essential if evil can be destroyed. The battle for Fleet Admiral is about to begin. The two of them activated their abilities at the same time, instantly turning the entire island into a world of ice and fire. Half of the island is an icy freezing hell, and the other half is a hot magma hell. Chapter 127 Boeing Islands. Usopp's anger after getting up and injecting sword energy into Nami's body. Taylor prepared to go to the Visalia Sky Island control room. I didn't expect that after so many years of stealing in the sea, you still had blood. Taylor walked out of the door and glanced at Nami. What do you want me to do? Let me go. Nami covered her mouth with a look of resistance. What Taylor had done to her in the past few days was something she would never forget. Where to go? To Kokoja village to plant oranges. Luffy is dead, otherwise where else would I go? Follow me and be a toy on a dog leash. Taylor didn't care what experience she had. Nami's identity as a pirate, coupled with his 66 million bounty, means that he cannot become an ordinary person no matter where he goes. You want to use this? Nami pinched the chain in front of his neck, continued to torture me? Tell saw the moment when the bond and agreement were still remaining in Nami's eyes, and he flashed in front of her with his sword fingers condensing sword energy and a serious look on his face. Cut it all away. Boom. The sword energy hit her between the eyebrows, and Tyr used the power of the sword god to break all her ridiculous bonds and agreements. The gentle impact knocked her down on the bed. His eyes were hollow, staring straight at the ceiling. You can have dreams, but don't leave those ridiculous bonding adventures. Tyr plans to leave Nami on this empty island as one of the candidates to research and guard the demon container. At the same time, she can use the innate environment of this empty island. Fulfilling her dream of charting the world. The memory was broken. After the color of Nami's eyes returned, she covered her brain and felt extremely uncomfortable. What did you do to me? She wanted to recall the agreement she made with the Straw Hats and their relationship, but she couldn't find it in her memory. The important memory is gone. She looked at Tyr, unable to believe that he still had this ability. Pirates will not end well in front of me. Teal did the math. There's still about a month or so left to clear out the Straw Hats. He planned to call Nami up and let her, whose memory was now broken, see the death of other partners in person. This Sky Island can travel to any place in the world. Instruct a few old men to control the island and arrive at the island where Usopp, the Straw Hat crew, is located. That is, over the Boeing Islands, Visalia skyline edge. Advertisement, we're here, Master. Master? Nami became even more desperate when she saw several old men standing in a row and calling Tyr Master at the same time. She thought that Marine had been watching everything over the past 6 months. Stand up on your own, little thief cat. Taylor replaced a flying sword and stood up, asking Nami to come up with him. I regret. Nami stood behind Tyr and hugged Tyr's legs to stabilize her body. I regret being a pirate. Nokagao. If she had known she had such an experience following Luffy, she would never have come to become a pirate. The flying sword quickly flew towards the sea 10,000 meters below. There is no use regretting it. Logically speaking, when you are wanted for 30 million belly, a lieutenant general should come to arrest you. Lieutenant General? Nami didn't know what Taylor was talking about. Let me tell you this, if it weren't for Straw Hat's background, you guys would have been wiped out long ago. But you killed him and Luffy's whole family. They deserve it, ha 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 ha, I will kill them if I do it again. Even if the monkey family disappears, Tyr will not feel that he has done anything wrong. Even if it is revenge, their family is still guilty. If someone thinks that his family is innocent, then there is really something wrong with their outlook on life. Returning from the empty island to the boundless sea, Tyr used the color of knowledge while looking at several islands blooming like piranha flowers below. Not wanting to waste time, he directly locked onto the auras of the two humans. At this, slow down, I'm going to fall. Nami hugged Taylor's feet tightly. Slower? At the moment Nami asked, the flying sword at Tyr's feet suddenly erupted. Like the speed of sound, he rushed directly into the island where Wu Zhang was. Boom. I just want to be fast. The terrifying impact caused the island to tremble violently. Island. The smoke dispersed, revealing a fat man covered in fat and a man wearing a rhinoceros costume. He held his hands in front of his body and didn't know what was going on. The two were none other than Hercules and Usopp of the Straw Hats. What's wrong? Is it Poseidon again? Usopp, who turned into a fat man, shouted. No, the danger signal is serious. Hercules became alert. Usopp, the person inside is very hostile. Advertisement. You are crazy. If you want my life, just chop me with a knife. Nami's voice came from the smoke. There is no need to stimulate my heart like this. What she couldn't deny was that Tyr's strength really exceeded her understanding of power. The smoke cleared. Oh. This is paradise. Tyr suddenly picked up the huge piece of meat in the flour and stuffed it into his mouth. Are you kidding me? After seeing Tyr's sudden change in temperament and his overeating of food on the island, her view of Tyr changed again. Is he still the cruel and perverted B***************** D from a few days ago? Feeling the numbness in her body, Nami still couldn't let go of the intense hormones. Nami. Usopp saw Nami suspended in the air by Tyr and immediately ran towards her. Haha. Why are you here, Nami? Usopp put his hands on Nami's shoulders and shook her happily. Nami had no expression on her face when she saw Usopp. He slapped Usopp's hand away and said, Don't touch me, pirate. Huh? Usopp was startled by Nami's actions. What are you talking about? We are the most important partners. Usopp couldn't believe that Nami actually said such words in front of him. It really works, Taylor said with his mouth full of meat. It was the first time I used the cut off one's thoughts move on someone, and the effect was great. Don't come close, Usopp. Helix pulled Usopp back to him, trying to keep him away from Tyr. You are the Marine who defeated Zoro from the Sabaody Islands. Usopp observed Nami, who took the initiative to stand next to Tyr, and then looked at Tyr, who tilted his head and continued to eat the natural food on the island. What on earth is going on? Usopp suddenly became furious. He is the big bad guy who killed my father, Nami. Huh? Tyr heard Usopp talking about his father, and walked towards him with interest. The Jesus cloth that attacked me has turned into dust, and there is no powder left. What on earth did you do to Nami? Nothing, just friendly exchanges for a few days. Tyr pulled Nami to him and hugged him. Do you think it's a little thief cat? No. That's right. Damn it, have you forgotten our previous bond, Nami? Nami tried to remember, but couldn't remember anything. I can't remember anything. You be ************ D. Luffy believes so much that you defeated the Arlong Empire and rescued Kokoja village, have you forgotten? Even after mentioning this matter, Nami is still extremely indifferent to Usopp. You be *********** D. Usopp took out a small shot put from his waist bag and loaded it on his slingshot. Must kill lead star. The shot put quickly rushed towards Tyr, and Tyr reached out and caught it between his fingertips. Chapter 128 Usopp dies. Encounter with Nicole Robin. It's pitifully weak. After catching the shot put, Tyr flicked his fingers hard. The lead ball shot by Usopp penetrated his fat belly in an instant and shot towards the strange tree behind him. Ah! Usopp. Seeing that Usopp was injured, Hercules immediately launched an attack on Tyr. He was very fast, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of Tyr and punched him. Bang! Tyr quickly swung his sword at him, and the huge sword energy engulfed Hercules in an instant. Then he looked at Nami. Come! Tyr handed the wailing cry to Nami. Kill your partner personally to show that you are bowing down and loyal to me. You want me to do it? She trembled helplessly, unable to believe that Tyr wanted her to kill Usopp herself. What's wrong? Isn't it possible to cut off the past? Nami held the black knife. Ha ha ha, Nami. Usopp, whose abdomen was penetrated and whose body was extremely fat, fell to the ground and was unable to get up. He started laughing and taunted Nami, "This is the real you, right? I must. You have to make a decision immediately, be an ordinary person again, or continue to be a pirate?" "I don't want to be a pirate." Nami shed tears and slashed at Usopp with a knife. The sharp blade cut Usopp's skin directly, killing him with one blow. Ah! Usopp didn't believe it before he died, that the navigator in front of him actually took action against him. As expected, he looked at Nami, "You are such a guy." "I don't want to." Nami's eyes suddenly turned gray, "I want to be a pirate." When they realize that there are forces in the world that they cannot defeat, instead of becoming pirates, it is better to wash away the name of pirates. Change the evil and return to the right again. Are you satisfied? Nami suddenly collapsed on the ground holding Tyr's knife. With her heart aching, she made a choice between thieves and soldiers. Kill your comrades and restore your reputation to normal. Well done, I'll reward you by taking off the dog leash. Taylor took off the chain from her neck, "I will put it on you only in private." When he saw that Nami had made a choice against her original intention, Tyr was not going to publicly insult her. Let's go to the next location. Advertisement. Feeling Nami's mood swings, Tyr didn't have any sympathy or feelings for the friendship and bond between the pirates. Now his heart is colder than jibing. Nami walked towards Tell with a black knife, "Give it back to you. Who's next?" "I think it should be." Taylor searched in his memory, "Gun Island." "Okay, let's go." Nami's sudden change in temperament surprised even Tyr. She boarded Tyr's flying sword and took the initiative to hold Tyr's waist to resist the next buffer. "I don't hate smart women," Tyr said to her, "after all, living is better than anything else." "Can I ask you a favor?" "Explain." "Let's build a marine police station in my hometown of Kokoja village." "I'll never touch a pirate or anything again," she said to Tyr, crying. "Is this a way to finally cut off the bond?" Tyr smiled and didn't care at all. "Okay, but you must serve the future marine with all your strength, with your talent for weather observation and navigation skills." "Absolutely. Promise you." Teal's words undoubtedly gave Nami a new goal to live. Nowadays, almost no one can try to restrain Tyr's actions. After a few minutes, return to Sky Island. With the help of meteorological scientists, Tyr set off immediately, but Tyr couldn't let go of the food in the Boeing Islands. Give a large amount of sword energy to an island, and then take it to the new world near Sword God Island. That way, Tyr would have endless food to eat. Anyway, the machine island is in New World, so we won't waste much time. New World. That's right, so I can't kill you for the time being. Tyr looked at the deserted environment around him, "But where are you going?" "A flying island." Such words once again shocked Robin, who had lost hope in life. There is no point in continuing to stay in this world. When she walked through the noisy streets and walked towards a forest. Advertisement. On the shore of an island on the Grand Line, Nico Robin escaped from the White Earth Island in a small boat and began her wandering journey again. "I need the knowledge in your brain so that after I clean up the world, people can be universally educated and educated." "What is that?" Robin looked at the strange changes in the air in front of him and subconsciously assumed a vigilant posture. Tyr casually moved away a piranha island called Stomach Baron, near the Boeing Islands. Tyr, who has always activated the domineering power of knowledge, does not want any missing Straw Hat crew members in the surrounding ocean. The start of a day and night of seeing and hearing made Tyr a little dizzy. She wanted to find a quiet and beautiful place to bury all the knowledge in her mind. "Shish." Taylor subconsciously told her to shut up. "Nico Robin, where are you going?" On the first day of the Fleet Admiral battle duel, Akainu and Aokiji were almost evenly matched in ability. "What?" When Robin heard what Tyr said, his first reaction was to be captured by Marine and decrypt One Piece for the world government. He didn't believe this was coming from a Marine. Robin was shocked by the sudden appearance of Tyr, turned around and immediately started to run away. "Ha ha ha ha, I want to die on this island." Tyr's joyful laughter spread from the air to the island. The three types of domineering energy are supported by the energy in the body, while seeing, hearing, and color requires mental power. Knowledge. Tell said two words lightly. The flying island suddenly stopped above her. "That's the Baron of the Stomach." Nico Robin looked up at the foundation of the island and was uprooted by the sword energy. Now hanging over Robin's island. Therefore, he stopped when he detected Robin's presence. "Stop joking." Robin pulled away Tyr's hand. "You are a Marine, a guy who serves the world government. If you take me back, you will only make me tortured in Marijoya." Wrapped in a gray cloak, she was disappointed with life and didn't know where to go. The sword energy floated in the air, and Tyr flew out of the Stomach Baron Island and floated directly in front of Robin. Having just gained a true companion, the moment she received the news of Luffy's death, she could no longer find any meaning in living. It wasn't until the sword energy turned into a Tyrian form and appeared in front of her wearing a marine hat that Robin, who had lost the meaning of living, became even more desperate. "Let me go. You have already eliminated the Revolutionary Army and Monkey D's family. Why are you here to catch me?" "What are you talking about?" Robin stopped and turned to look at Tyr in great surprise. You want my knowledge? Who are you? This is not possible. Tyr reached out and grabbed her cloak. Don't even think about running away from me. Chapter 129. Robin bows his head and returns New World. I didn't say I wanted you to go to Mariahio. Robin was surprised again. He took a few steps back and immediately turned around to escape. Thump. However, she was pushed to the ground by Tyr's hand. Don't resist in vain. I am not working for the world government now. Who believes you? You can trust pirates, but can't you trust Marine who can change the world in one go? Taylor tried to convince her. Let me go. I will never solve the mystery for Marine and the government even if I die. As it happens, Tyr captured Nami and could use her to make Robin lower his guard. That's right. Taylor breathed towards the sky. Nami, who was hugging her legs and blaming herself on the 10,000-meter sky island in Visalia, felt her body being grabbed by an extremely powerful and irresistible suction force. What's wrong with my body? From above 10,000 meters, it was directly sucked into Tyr's hand. Let me go. I never want to do anything for Marine. At the entrance to the jungle where Tyr was, Robin struggled for several minutes but still did not give in. She would rather die than work under Marine, because her hometown of O'Hara was destroyed by the Marine Buster call. UB******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* this. Nami, who had fallen from a high altitude, came back from the shock and found Robin, and her complaints against Tyr stopped abruptly. Robin. Let go. Robin, who was controlled by Tyr, looked back. Nami. Why are you here? Come on, little thieving cat, give me some advice. Seeing that she had calmed down, Tyr released her restraints and stood aside. Aren't you going to kill her? Nami said to Tell with a look of shock. Do you think of me as a Shinigami, harvesting people when you see them? Terry said coldly. I care about the peaceful scene of the future world. What's going on, Nami? Robin looked horrified, not knowing what was going on. Robin, Nami hesitated for a second. She smiled and said to Robin, I bow to him. Robin, let's not be pirates anymore. He has a big picture view. He said he could clean up the sea and stuff like that. He told me to work for Marine in the future. It's not a joke. Tyr added in an extremely serious tone. What on earth are you talking about, Nami? You know what I'm talking about. Nami suddenly collapsed emotionally. Now Luffy is dead. We, the Straw Hats, have nowhere to escape in front of this guy. Advertisement. So, you abandoned your promise. Join Marine. Sanji died too. Brook died too. Just one day ago. Usopp also died. Robin had already known about the deaths of the first 3 people. Now, the news that Usopp was also dead made her even more unbelievable. Not long after the news about Luffy, the new generation of marine power in front of us is hunting the Straw Hats everywhere in the world. Mr. Long Nose. Tyr walked to Robin. I said I wouldn't hand you over to the government. As he spoke, Taylor pointed to the air. 10,000 meters above here, there is a small sky island that is enough for you to escape all pursuit, and it is now under my control. If you don't plan to join, I can only kill you. Tyr held the handle of the knife and pointed the tip of the knife at Robin's neck. Really? Nami? Really? That's where you found me? Nami's voice was a little hoarse. I arrived at that empty island when I was blown away by that bear. Clear the sea. A peaceful world in the future? In O'Hara's knowledge, no one has been able to do it for more than 1,000 years. Can the man in front of him really do it? Robin was still shocked by the fact that hundreds of thousands of revolutionary troops marched from the White Earth Island and were wiped out by Tyr in just one day. Maybe. This guy can actually do it. What guarantee do you have that you won't hand me over to the government? You have no choice, and my patience is very limited. The tip of Tyr's knife had already pricked blood on her neck. Promise. You have to sever all relations with the Straw Hats. You will only bow to me wholeheartedly? And what is our relationship? Slavery. Cooperate. Tyr is not as perverted as he thought. Although he is now in this world, the news of his public capture of the Pirate Empress and her corruption has spread all over the world. Are you going to oppose the world government and the Celestial Dragons? No objection. Then how do you make this world peaceful? World government and the Celestial Dragons are the biggest root causes. That's because you are too short-sighted. I'll count to 3 and leave if you don't agree to kill me. Robin was terrified and thinking quickly. Although I don't know what method Teal will use to change the world, at least now Teal has given her an opportunity and promised to pass on O'Hara's knowledge. The commitment of a truly strong man is worth everything. Advertisement, I promise. He felt that he would die anyway, so he might as well take the risk. Great. Nami was so desperate that she thought Robin would die in front of her eyes. Let's set off. The cultural level of such a world is horribly low. If you want to evolve, you must rely on knowledge. Force is just a means to protect the world. Bringing the island to the vicinity of St. Phaedro Island, Tell boarded his warship and returned to New World together. Robin was hidden by him on the Visalia Sky Island without telling anyone. In the bay blown by the warm wind, countless people on the island watched in shock as the islands in the sky followed Tyr's warships flying. What's going on with these things on the deck? Tyr asked Dusky and Shisha. Before him lay a large number of women's articles. Lieutenant General. There are so many things on this island. I want to buy everything, but I can't finish it. Shisha's hair was disheveled. I used your sword to kick out all the kendo gyms in St. Fadru. It's too sharp. The soldiers all had smiles on their faces and seemed to be enjoying themselves very much these days. Okay. Tyr felt that it was a bit redundant to bring them out. Entering his office, Teal began to process the documents and reports for these days. Robin's story was hidden from him. Nami was reported to him for killing Usopp and asked to cancel the 66 million bounty. The office doors opened. Sissa walked in. Lieutenant General, why do we need to return to the New World? Have you already settled the matter of the Grand Line? That island outside. Do you plan to transport it back? Go to the Machine Island. Also, the meat on that island is purely naturally grown, Tyr said with great determination. He will take this island back to his death. Unlimited food? It was heaven to him. And the Machine Island happens to be in New World. The quill continued to wave. The people who have been killed by the Straw Hat Pirates include Luffy, Sanji, Brook, and Usopp. Those who bowed their heads are Nami, Robin, remaining, Zoro, Chopper, Frankie. Tyr's next target is Frankie. As for Zoro, if he can't find the island where Chopper is, he plans to deal with Frankie before going there. Chapter 130. A good woman can make a man Tyr return to the vicinity of Sword God Island with an empty island and an island that could produce unlimited food. Has the remains of the Elephant Master been eaten like this by Poseidons? Those huge white bones that tower tens of thousands of meters into the sky and earth have attracted a lot of Poseidons these days. Most of the meat on its body has been eaten by Poseidons and various fish. Lieutenant General. Shisha shouted to Tyr in the air, do we need to stop at the coast to resupply? No, boom. Tyr put the island full of food into the ocean, causing a wave of tens of feet to spread to the surrounding area. Let this island grow here, Tyr licked his tongue. When he's hungry, go inside and let him eat as much as he wants. The aroma of food will also make Poseidons climb to the island to look for food. This will not only provide Poseidon meat to Sword God Island, but also make the fishery near Sword God Island more abundant. What on earth is Master Sword God doing? He moved an island from outside. The fishermen who were fishing for fish in small boats near Sword God Island were protected by Tyr's sword energy to prevent them from being washed away by the waves. Teal returned to the warship office. Shisha, don't let ordinary people enter the island, otherwise they won't be able to get out. Tyr wrote the document and gave the order to Shisha. Yes. As if she had something on her mind, Shisha took the documents and left the office and asked, Lieutenant General Teal, have you sheltered the Straw Hat Pirates? That's right, it's the island above your head. To Tyr, Shisha is not an outsider and can absolutely be trusted. What's happened to you recently, Lieutenant General? Shisha asked Tyr in a soul-searching question. You don't look like the kind of person who indulges in the gentleness of women, right? Tyr faced the question of this beautiful and smart woman who handled official documents and any orders for him. As if awakened by her words, Tyr's heart jolted. As a time traveler, he has done almost everything he wanted to do in the past few months. He found that he could never go back to the person he was before time travel. It was as if he had completely integrated into this world. Apart from performing tasks and fighting, nothing could satisfy Tyr's empty heart. Tyr treated Sissa differently and did not treat her like Hancock or Nami. Seeing Tyr's silence, the frowning Shisha continued. I don't care how many women you have, Lieutenant General, I just hope that you find that what you have done recently. It seems like you have become a completely different person. After finishing speaking, Sisha took the file and left the office. Advertisement Tyr has no problem killing pirates, and she has no sympathy for them. However, as she gradually began to enjoy women's bodies, her impression of Tyr in her brain changed drastically. Come in after delivering the documents, Shisha, I have something to tell you. Taylor was left looking at the hatch with an expressionless expression. In the corridor, Shisha sighed after hearing Tyr's words and murmured, what happened to him? After passing the file to the Marine in the G8 base, the warship continued to sail towards the island at full speed. With a creak, the hatch was opened again. Shisha was wearing a coat of justice, holding documents in her hands and lowering her head to face Tyr. Any other orders? Lieutenant General? Tyr stood up, walked to the side cabinet and took out 2 bottles of wine. Let's talk. Oh, you seem to care about what I do to them. Pirates are really that. Okay. Shisha put her right hand on her chest and looked at Tyr with affection. Isn't Shisha not good enough? You are excellent and smart. Tyr handed the wine to Shisha. I have sense and will never treat you like them. Shisha likes you, just tell you directly. Don't like me, I'm not here to like you. Didn't you say before that you wanted to have 10 children with Shisha? She drank down the wine in her hand, then walked towards Tyr and took off her justice coat. Pushing Tyr to the desk chair, come on then, Sissa is willing. Shisha's face was close to Tyr, and their slight breathing sounds rubbed in the air. I said, you are different from them in my heart. Tyr would not use the behavior of pirates on Chisha. What is the difference? They are thieves, you are a righteous soldier and my loyal subordinate. You are afraid. Chisha pointed to Tyr's nose and saw the fear in Tyr's eyes. Are you afraid that that kind of thing will happen again? Tyr swallowed and said softly, I'm scared, so I don't want to be emotional with any of you. A woman's sixth sense really shocked Tyr. Stop indulging in women, Lieutenant General, you need to deeply reflect on what you have been doing recently. After reminding Tyr, Chisha walked out of the office. Crunch. Advertisement opening the hatch, she paused again. Enough is enough, Lieutenant General, don't degenerate anymore. Haven't you noticed that you have become no different from a pirate recently? Bang. The door was closed forcefully by Chisha, and she was a little disappointed with Tyr. She didn't want Tyr to become that kind of beast, a fallen soldier who only vented his anger on women. I'm addicted to women. I'm depraved. Taylor sat down on the chair and put down the drink. Chisha's words made his brain hurt, and he looked very embarrassed and immediately reflected on what he had done. Listening to the sound of the swaying chandelier, I covered my brain with my hands and thought about what Chisha and myself had done recently. Almost no one dared to take the initiative to remind Tyr of recent events like Chisha did. I just try to go back to my original self. Tyr looked uncomfortable and found that he couldn't go back. After deep introspection alone, Tyr gradually found himself again through Chisha's reminders. I just have worked hard for so long and want to have fun. Thinking back on everything he had done, Tyr's mind began to clear up, and he indeed found that what he had done recently was not at all like a military style. How dare she teach me a lesson? After reflecting for a long time, Tyr covered his forehead and giggled. Chisha's words awakened Tyr from his lawless and bottomless life. About 2 days later, Tail captured Frankie of the Straw Hats together on Marine, a joint agency island. Put him in prison. Inside the science laboratory of Guanya Island, outside the prison where criminals are imprisoned. You want Pluton design drawings? Why? Frankie's hands were tied, and no mechanical parts in his body were complete except for his brain. You are a super enemy to our Straw Hat pirates, a big enemy. Forget it, I'm patient enough. Tell opened the cage and interrogated him for a whole day without prying his mouth open. Lieutenant General, wait. The soldier stopped Tell, the Pluton design is something the government needs, you can't. Click. Tyr chopped off Frankie's head with a knife and then walked away. I don't need that kind of thing, and besides, he won't say it out loud. Yes. After killing Frankie on the Machine Island, Tyr decided to return to Sword God Island to adjust his team. He doesn't care about Pluton's design drawings or anything like that. Since Frankie would rather die than speak out, he has no choice but to let it be submerged in the long river of history. Make it impossible to know. Chapter 131 The Red-Haired Pirates Attack. New World. Fog Sea. The Red Fourth happened to enter the same waters as Tyr. The redhead who spent more than half a year occupying the most territory of Whitebeard is returning to his base in New World. Now that the 4 emperors have collapsed, the 3 emperors occupy most of the ocean in the New World. I don't know if my eyesight is dazzled. Bank Binge was on the observation deck and noticed that Tyr's warship returning to Sword God Island passed by their ship. What's the matter? Bank Punch. The warship that killed the Marine kid who killed Gabu and Jesus BU is not far ahead. What did you say? This news made all the red-haired pirates, including the red-haired man himself, come to the side of the ship to watch the shadow of the warship in the fog in the distance. Get out of the way. The red-haired man directly sensed the aura on the warship using his sense of dominance. After discovering that it was Tell, he immediately stood on the railing of the ship and held Griffin at his waist with one hand. Are you going to start a war? Beckman saw the red-haired man's move and immediately began to prepare. Of course. The red hair pulled out the blade and instantly wrapped it around Conquerors and slashed sideways at Tyr's warship. Drink. The Overlord edge cut across the sea, and Tyr, who was resting with his eyes closed in the cabin, suddenly opened his eyes. Boom. The red-haired man's slash struck through the side of the ship outside his office. Alarm. Sound the sound quickly. The soldier who reacted was split in half by the red-haired slash before he could finish speaking. The warship was cut off. That's the red-haired pirates. The appearance of the red-haired pirates did not allow the soldiers on Tyr's warship to react, and the ship was cut in half. The slash cut through the sea, and the warship's bow deck split directly in the middle, tilting and floating on the sea. Why is red-haired Shanks here? After the warship was cut in half in an instant, Tell quickly jumped out of the cabin and jumped to the mast to watch the Red Foss approach in the fog. Dasky, Chisha, you lead some soldiers to put out the fire and serve as a long-range support force on the warship. What about you? Chisha asked. Advertisement, I want to go. Tyr smiled at Chisha, to find myself again. In the past few days, Tyr had been treated with indifference by Chisha, even ignoring orders except for orders, which made him realize that his problem was already serious. It is absolutely true that a good subordinate, or woman, can make a man change. Until now, he was deeply touched by this sentence. Lieutenant General, what I said before was just casual. Given. The thick sword energy flowed out of Tyr's hands and he touched the 5 knives in front of him. You will be a good subordinate, Shisha. Has he woke up from his drunken life? Shisha didn't believe it. Once a man falls into gentleness, it is almost impossible to change in just 2 days. But Tyr's seriousness made her see the boy from a few months ago. The palms of his hands touched 5 famous knives, and all 5 famous knives were wrapped with immeasurable sword energy, doubling Ty's close combat ability. The 3 airborne blades guard against enemies, all possessing the power of Tyr himself to cut. After dealing with the red-haired pirates many times, Tyr knew that bombing with countless flying swords would no longer have any practical effect. Now this kind of surprise attack is nothing surprising to him. Tyr acted very calmly, holding the first-generation ghost in his left hand, holding the black sword in his right hand and screaming, and his momentum increased explosively in an instant. Let the cannons that can fire continue to bombard their ships. Bang! After giving the order, Tyr jumped into the air and rushed towards the red fosse. He is no longer the little brat he was back then who still needed the general's care. The body of the sword god, on the way to the red fosse, Tyr suddenly activated his fantasy beast form in the air. The facial expression, body, and arms are distorted to highlight the sharp blue skin like crystals. The human appearance of Tyr completely changed into a monster with crystal-like thorns all over its body. Are you so arrogant now? Shanks looked at Tyr with a sharp look, or is it because the fruit's ability has been awakened that you think you have a chance to defeat me? Tyr did not respond to Shanks' words. He stretched out the 2 swords in his hands to the left side and swung them horizontally to accumulate power. He got close to the red hair and exploded in an instant. In the past 6 months, almost no pirates have dared to approach Tyr's warship, and Red Hair was the first. Griffin in the red-haired hand also moved towards the direction of Tyr's sword. Sizzle. What the hell is that guy thinking? But his partner's offensive consciousness could not escape Tyr's observation. Beckman's figure disappeared from the deck of the red-haired ship, and his domineering fist flashed to Tyr's side and blasted out. But things didn't happen as Warring States thought. Advertisement. You've become stronger again, huh? The soldier was a little confused by Sengoku's words. How about we send reinforcements there? Beckman was also repulsed by Tyr's flying sword. Contact the nearest base near the warship and send him support, Warring States ordered. This must be an excuse made by Tyr. The weapon was not shot away this time? Confront the 4 emperors. Sengoku gritted his teeth and stood up suddenly. Who gave him the order? It just so happens that Jesus Boo's feud is settled here. Ruined everything for you. Taylor didn't know what he was talking about. Luffy is the heir I finally found, and you actually hunted him down on the Grand Line after destroying the Revolutionary Army. The thunderstorm entwined with immeasurable sword energy blocked Tyr's side, instantly parrying Beckman's sneak attack. The comprehensive strength of the red-haired pirates makes it impossible for Tyr to deal with them alone even if he is currently awakened. On the deck of the Red Fosse, cannonballs kept bombarding the red-haired ship, and Tyr was surrounded by all the red-haired cadres in the center. Information in S*X won't work for you, right? Taylor couldn't predict Shanks' next position from his movements. The remaining pirates and sailors continued to intercept the cannons fired from the warships. Confrontation is absolutely inevitable, and the current conflict between the two can only be resolved by life and death. The collision and impact of the isolated domineering force caused the railing of the ship's side where Shanks was standing to collapse instantly. New World, Lieutenant General Tyr is fighting the 4 emperors red-haired Shanks, Sengoku Fleet Admiral. Ding! Boom! Such a confrontation was quickly reported to the headquarters by the soldiers. Marine cannot fight against the 4 emperors without authorization. This is an ironclad rule in military regulations. Now whether it's Tyr meeting Shanks or Shanks meeting Tyr, the Red Fourth nearly capsized due to the strength of the 2 men. After losing his support point, he was instantly repelled by Tyr and fell onto the upper deck. The soldiers under Lieutenant General Tyr said this. The red-haired pirates were the first to launch a sneak attack, and the warship had already been cut off before Lieutenant General Tyr took action. You really ruined everything for me, kid, Shanks said to Tyr with a knife in his hand. Red and black thunder bloomed and squeezed between the 2 weapons, accompanied by a burst of explosive bursts, forming a confrontation of power. Boom! Chapter 132 Say something harsh and defeat all of you. As a result, the red-haired Shanks had to uncover the secret treasure himself. The world situation was out of control. What he didn't expect was that Tyr even defeated the sun god Nika. Although Luffy awakened Nika did not form a complete body. You were just a sinner, red hair, and you have killed countless people like me. As he said that, Tyr floated first-generation ghost into the air. The dual sword style was a bit uncomfortable for him. The 4 weapons rotated rapidly around his waist, and the power contained in them could block any attack. Unless Tyr's sword energy is exhausted or his body is severely injured. Nowadays, it is almost impossible for Tyr to use up all his sword energy. Tyr pointed his black knife at Shanks, while the others used flying swords to watch for sneak attacks. The only difference is that I kill evil people, and you kill everyone who messes with you. Shanks' hypocrite appearance made Tyr extremely angry. Why can you still pretend to be so upright and upright? In such a battle, other people on the warship are not qualified to participate in the battle at all. They can only try their luck with guns and cannons to see if they can hurt the red-haired pirates. Therefore, Tyr was fighting alone. Evil and justice, is there really such a thing in the world? Shanks ignited his domineering power and wrapped it around the knife, the black cloak behind him dancing in the wind due to his momentum. Come together and kill him, Beckman ordered several other cadres. Boom. Shanks and Tyr had a quick exchange of swordsmanship, and others around them took the opportunity to kill Tyr directly. The five most powerful, but it was stopped by Tyr's flying sword. Why is his weapon different from before? Not only can it not be beaten back, but it is also very tenacious. The sword energy flow on the sword is caused by his ability. That is to say, after consuming his sword energy, you can break through his defense, right? Impossible. Tyr, who was fighting Shanks, directly responded to their analysis, unless I die, the sword energy on the sword will last forever. Tyr relied on his sword god's body and reaction to forcefully engage in an explosive confrontation with Shanks who could predict the next 10 seconds. The terrifying momentum tore through the sky, letting the moonlight shine into the sea and dispersing the heavy fog in the air. The lieutenant general fights against the four emperors alone. Chisha's eyes widened, feeling that she had to do something. Lanzhou. She used her legs to launch a 6-stroke slash, heading straight for Shanks' hull. Wants to destroy the red-haired pirate's ship. When Beckman saw this, he immediately broke away from the attack on Tyr, came before Chisha's slashing attack and smashed the Lanzhou into pieces with one punch. This ship cannot be destroyed by you. Dasky saw that Tyr and the red-haired pirates were evenly matched, as well as the cadres of the red-haired pirates. After watching the battle of strong men at close range, she realized that her own strength was really weak. Whether it's bullets or cannonballs, just shoot their hulls. Leave those pirates alone. Advertisement, my willpower. On the red-haired pirate ship in the distance, Tyr fought off the red-haired pirate with a knife. He lowered his body and raised his legs into a horse stance, with a honed murderous aura in his eyes. Concentrate on this sword. Don't even think about it. Shanks steadied his body for a moment, and watched as Tyr assumed the posture of a samurai using the EI slash with a lot of cold sweat on his forehead. Conqueror's haki burst out and made everyone tremble, burning like a flame throughout his body. Because he predicted the future by seeing and hearing the domineering force, and saw Tyr's moves 10 seconds later. Bang! The explosive aura generated around Tyr's body spread to the 4 blades he used to resist the red-haired cadre. The sword sounds produced by the 4 famous swords turned into a terrifying impact, knocking them all back. Sakuragi, Mokuru, Thunderstorm, and first-generation Kitetsu, the 4 blades repelled the other cadres for a moment, then quickly rotated into a scabbard and came to Tyr's left waist. Transformed into a scabbard, Tyr inserted the black sword whale into it, allowing the infinite sword energy and Conqueror's haki to accumulate on the blade. Boom! Tyr's legs exerted force. The move moved forward, causing the upper deck of the red-haired pirate group's ship to shake and almost collapse. The force is so great that the seawater splashes high in the sea. A pair of eyes that were more terrifying than ghosts and gods shrouded Shanks the moment Taylor drew his sword. Sword God / 5th style sword punishment. Tyr, who crushed the deck, instantly drew his sword and disappeared. Drink. Cut off the sea. In order to prevent the ship from being destroyed by Tyr, Shanks simultaneously used his most powerful slash. Get cover quickly. Beckman shouted immediately when he saw the 2 men taking action. Boom. The surrounding world appeared gray in front of everyone, and only the rampant crimson overlord divine blade bloomed at the tips of Tyr and Shanks. The heat wave shock, which is enough to kill all weak creatures, rushes towards the sea and spreads. You damn marine brat. Shanks caught tail and fought instantly. His facial expression of exerting too much force in the veins on his forehead meant that he did not fare well with Tyr's moves. Ah! Shanks shouted violently, staring at Griffin and Tyr's black knife in isolation. Boom! When the two collided with each other, it was obvious that Tyr's strength had the upper hand. Tyr took a step forward with strength, and his strength continued to suppress Shanks. Ever since the battle on the top of the mountain, your power has been unable to shock me. Bang! Beckman picked up the short gun at his waist and pulled the trigger directly towards Terfa. Teal stood up and reached out to wipe his nosebleed. You failed to kill me, Ben Beckman. Advertisement. No, I'm afraid something will happen this time. The blade cut through the skin on his left face, leaving a deep scar. The 4 knives that formed a scabbard in Ty's left hand, spinning and hanging in the air, suddenly spread out, flew behind Shanks and plunged them directly into him. On the collapsed upper deck of the Red Fourth, Ben Beckman stood above the incomplete crater on the deck, looking at Tyr, who had recovered from the bottom of the deck. Tyr wrapped his weapon-colored armor around the side of his head. Although the blade did not touch him, the destruction of the domineering energy inside his body did not make him feel better. Let's get back to the ship. Domineering bullets shot out. Boom. Oh. That B asterisk 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 D. Shanks coughed up a mouthful of blood in the air, unable to believe that he actually lost a tail due to the collision of moves. He knew that he might not be able to do it alone, but there were so many subordinates behind him who needed to be protected, and he had to fight with all his strength. The long-term indulgent life in these months made him endure a domineering punch from Beckman's top weapon, causing his brain to temporarily shut down. What a terrible guy. No wonder he was able to destroy the Revolutionary Army. The domineering bullet sank into the lower deck. When Beckman saw this, he immediately leaned back, but still did not avoid Tyr's blade. In this case, Tyr couldn't free his hands at all, so he had to activate all the strength in his body and cut Shanks off the deck with a knife. Teal was blasted into the lower deck of the Red Foss by Beckman. Taylor was the first to put down his harsh words. "Boss, are you okay? Boss." Lakiru was fast enough to run in the air, which was completely out of proportion to his size. "Fly." The brain suffered a heavy blow from Beckman. At the same time, Shanks' body was destroyed by Tyr's domineering force due to his failure in the strength competition. The ship's railing broke and Shanks flew off the deck. Tail quickly twisted his body to the side and dodged immediately. "Kill you." Ben Beckman simultaneously wrapped his fist with the top-level armed domineering force, appeared behind Tyr, and punched Tyr in the head. Once the red-haired pirates take the initiative to attack, there will definitely be casualties of life and death. "Hole, you've become stronger again. Rikiru," Shanks shouted immediately upon seeing this. "I didn't kill him." Tell jumped out of the deck with his knife. They are not a pirate group that does not kill people. Once they enter a fighting state, they are a group of very cold-blooded guys. He was caught by Rikiru, who ran into the air. Rikiru's body appeared on the deck behind Shanks almost at the same time, with terrifying explosive force, knocking away Tyr's 4 knives. "I'm going to defeat you all." Chapter 133 Sword God vs. Red Hair Pirates. Haha. Tyr wiped the blood from his mouth. "I haven't had a serious fight with you yet." Before the red-haired man could be rescued, Teal took the lead in launching a fierce attack on Beckman. Lakiru went to save the red-haired man, letting an extra flying sword from Tail fight back and forth with Beckman. "Kid." Beckman held a gun in his left hand and rushed towards Teal with a powerful domineering energy in his right hand, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat with him. Under the night sky over the sea, the shadow of Tyr wielding his sword flickered on the red fourth. Beckman's strength and combat IQ far exceed anyone Tyr has encountered so far. No matter how perfect his fist and gun combination was, it was still unable to withstand Tyr's flying sword attack and his current close combat ability. The blade crushed the domineering fist, and Tyr pressed against Beckman's face, showing a mocking smile. "It seems there is still a gap between you and the red-haired one." Tyr's arm shook with all his strength. Boom. The already collapsed deck began to crack and collapse under Beckman's feet. "Hey!" A monkey instantly appeared behind Tyr. When he clenched his fist, he immediately wrapped his domineering force and swung it towards Tyr. One sneak attack is enough. Tyr's eyes glowed with sword light. The free first-generation Kiteru appeared behind Tail at super-fast speed and penetrated the body of Menshida. Chirp. Damn it. What the hell is this guy's body like? Feeling the power of Tyr's second form, Beckman could only protect himself, but was powerless to do anything to his partners. Because now, when fighting Tyr in the form of a sword god, one would feel a very strong sense of oppression. The top-level armed colors can indeed resist conquerors, but I am no longer that weak guy. Boom. The black knife in Tyr's hand ignited with scarlet domineering energy. He held the handle of the knife with both hands and swung it violently. A heavy blow from Conqueror's flaming black knife cut Beckman into the bottom of the ship. In an instant, Tail, who turned around quickly, stretched out his left hand to pinch Menshida, who was penetrated by first-generation Kitetsu in the abdomen, and slashed out with the black sword in his right hand. "Go to hell, you stinky monkey." Menshida stared at Tyr's sea-blue demon eyes with a horrified look on his face. Due to his injury, he was caught by the sword god's hand and could not break free. The sword wind raged and passed through its neck in an instant. Advertisement, Mushta. Bank Binji shouted desperately, reaching out to catch the Mushta who was decapitated by Tyr. Ah! The moment he saw Mengshida's head fall onto the deck, he burst into unprecedented anger. Lime Jones, Snake, the leader of the red-haired pirates, shouted to his comrades. He holds swords in both hands and is a two-sword swordsman with a red dragon tattoo on his right chest. "You come and block these two swords." "Ah." Lime Jones looked confused. "You want me to use this electric baton to block his famous flying sword?" "There's nothing we can do. The captain hasn't come back yet. Someone has to hold him back." The red-haired pirate fleet received the order and was also heading towards the sea area where Tyr was located. Their fleet is very large. Because of Red Hair's reputation on the sea for many years, The people he saved admire him extremely and are even willing to die for him as a pirate. One ship at a time. Tyr threw Mangshita's body into the sea, stretched his neck and walked towards them. Where's your support? Bank Punch, Snake, a double-sword swordsman, and a physical master launched attacks on Tyr in turns. Beckman also jumped out from the deck at this moment. Mangshita. He stared wide-eyed, unable to believe that he had lost his partner again. UB*****************. D. Drink. Tyr shouted violently, and with a knife he knocked back the two men in front of him who were not as strong as Beckman and the red-haired man. He turned around solemnly to face the furious Beckman once again, clenched the handle of the knife with both hands and launched the domination. Find the weak spots. An angry person has flaws all over his body. If you can kill one, that's one. Teal quickly looked over Beckman's body with his eyes and found that even a man of his level had to show his flaws when he was angry. The domineering flow on the right arm was too strong, but the left arm launched an attack without any defense? Teal smiled and waited for Beckman to approach a position about 1 meter away from him. He twisted his neck to quickly avoid the domineering fist swinging towards his head. Immediately, Taylor aimed at his left arm and slashed it. Beckman's entire left hand trembled as he was about to pump his fist again, as if he had lost control of his left arm. Boom. The sword energy soared into the sky and cut through the moonlight. Under the silver moon, a scarlet blood curve was left, as well as an arm that was chopped into the air. Red Hair was rescued from the sea and brought back to the ship by Lakiru. Advertisement, Beckman. No, Shanks, who didn't care about his injuries, instantly stepped out and appeared behind Tyr at the speed of a shadow and slashed him with a knife. The first-generation ghost flew behind Ty but was unable to block Shanks' angry blow. The moment he broke through the first-generation ghost, Ty's back was slashed by his diagonal knife. A deep scar was made, and the code of justice was damaged as a result. Haha, Tail smiled, endured the pain, jumped sideways to the side of the ship, pulled off Justice's coat and threw it into the sea. Baixiang, hurry, we can still catch it, Shanks quickly said to the ship's doctor for his partner, using all his strength to repel Tyr's flying sword. The other famous swords that were repulsed by Shanks returned to float behind Tyr. Drop. Drop. The blood dripping from behind Tyr into the sea did not affect his current happy mood at all. Boom. One of his companions was killed by Tyr again, and the vice-captain's arm was cut off, allowing Shanks to ignite his ultimate conqueror's stride and rush towards Tyr. Unforgivable. With his left hand, Tyr instantly summoned the flying sword wrapped with immeasurable sword energy in front of him, forming a cross-sword energy shield. Boom. The griffin blade struck it, causing the surrounding air to vibrate. The fruit's ability was restrained by Haki, so the sword chi shield did not last long in the face of Shanks' Haki. The sword energy connected by the gaps between the four knives was split open for a moment, and Shanks saw Tyr waving his knives at the same time to greet him. There is no trace of fear in his eyes. The four knives cut through the night sky like silver meteors, posing a fatal threat to Shanks around his body. What are you going to do? Tyr grinned and swung the knife at him. After a fierce sword fight, was he penetrated by four knives, or was his chest cut open by a wailing blade? Just when Tyr thought Shanks couldn't handle it, Conqueror's domineering energy surged out of Shanks' body. He quickly put the blade on his waist and slashed with all his strength at 360 degrees. The terrifying tyrant slash struck the waves, instantly knocking Tyr away from his abdomen towards the warship. Tyr, whose body was hit by a slash, immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The three swords of Thunder Rain, Sakuragi, and Makor were all deflected by Shanks and flew away. Only first-generation Kitetsu broke through his slashing attack and cut a terrible scar on his chest before flying towards Tyr at high speed. Has this guy become so strong? Shanks knelt on one knee on the deck, the wound on his chest still keeping him calm.